And there we go. It's going to be loud. All right. We are live. It is Tuesday. You know what we do on Tuesdays? We do takeovers. I've got a bit of a frog in my throat today. I'm feeling okay. I hope I'm not getting sick. But there is some coughing going on. Raid Madness is ongoing. That has taken over our world. So I am sorry that this live stream is starting 2 hours late. We're starting at 3 p.m. instead of 1 p.m. Eastern time. If you are far to the east of us and you normally watch Takeover Tuesdays before you go to bed or something like that, I apologize if you missed it this week. Hopefully you can catch the video on demand. Get caught up on all the action, maybe learn something, and get your chance, your opportunity at a takeover of your own some point in the future. Unfortunately, something had to give. There's only so much time in the day, so many hours in the day, so many days in the week. And Son and I are working at maximum capacity. We really are. We are working beyond maximum capacity. My boy was up late into the night making that HH video just absolutely awesome. And so I gotta give Son a shout out today, man. He's been working his tail off, and I think it shows. The Raid Madness videos have been absolutely fantastic. So, what's up, Sauce? Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's see. Hoping everything's all right. The audio's okay. Let me know if there are any problems here. I have a new setup. Many of you may know that my wife and I are expecting our first child next month now. Next month in April. At some point in April. And so we're getting the house ready. And so we've decided to renovate a room. If the audio sounds different, it's because I'm in a different room right now than I normally am. And my previous room was part of like my previous office, my previous setup for streaming and stuff was in kind of a multi-purpose living room area. And now I have moved into a more dedicated office. It's a much smaller space, which is good. That's fine with me. And it will double as kind of like a playroom for our baby once he's old enough. So there is enough space for both of us to hang out here. And this will be, I work from home, so this is where I'm going to be babysitting. We'll have to see how it works out. But so the big room that I was in is now going to become our bedroom instead of our living room, because we need the extra space to have the crib in there and all the baby's materials. Son, are you here?
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
It is I.
I was just giving you a shout out, man. You've been working your tail off, and I appreciate it. Been killing it. I hope everybody enjoyed the Raid Madness videos. All those art assets, all those great transitions, the sound effects, everything coming from this man. Looking absolutely fantastic. Son, what are you thinking? How are you feeling about today's videos? Doing well.
Yeah, it's doing great. It's doing fantastic. We had a lot of fun with it. Yeah, no, it's an awesome event all around. I'm excited we're doing it. We're putting in a lot of work, but
Yeah.
put in work and you get out the result, and that's the result.
Yeah, and HH was awesome. This is absolutely really cool to work with him. He was very enthusiastic about the Raid Madness event. He was like, this is really cool, and he got very into it. In fact, I've done 3 of the 4 collaborations now. We'll have a video out each day, hopefully, over the next couple of days. And all of the content creators have been really positive on it. They found it really fun. And just like HH, everybody has struggled to make their calls. It's like once you start putting up really good champions up against other champions in 1v1 matchups, all of a sudden things get a little bit trickier than just putting together a top 10 list of your favorite champs. It's like now you really got to make some tricky calls, knowing that there are going to be players out there who disagree with you no matter what you do. There's no way to be 100%, satisfying to the audience. It's like when you have to pick between 2 great champions, you've got viewers who want each champion to win. And, the great news about it is the content creators are just giving analysis. They're just giving information. telling what they would pick, but the viewers get to pick their own. They get to vote for their own thing. So nobody has to listen to the content creators if they don't want. We just want to make sure that newer players, especially, or maybe players who are, free to play, understand the value of some of these champions. That really was the motivation behind the event, is getting that information out there in a cool, fun way. And so we hope everybody enjoys it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, let me say hello to chat here. Sauce, Kenshan, good to see you. Sebastian, love to rogue. Sup? Dinky, Alex, John Bibby in the house, Triax, Great Dane. Hey Dane, how you doing? OG Chugga. We said Alex already. I'll say hi to Alex twice. It's Chars, Chiron, Destania, Angelica, Wentworth, Isad, El Safa. So Alex says, surprised HK didn't make the list, but excited for the event. Yeah, so there were several champions that didn't make the list, which, we could actually do this. Let me pull up the I'll pull up the bracket. Why not? I mean, it's our stream. We can do whatever we want. Let's pull up the bracket. Uh-oh. I did it. I was telling myself I wouldn't do it, and I did it.
Yeah, that seems like an interesting choice.
This is my new setup messing with me. We'll see. It's not a big deal, because I am in control. Nothing anybody can. Okay, so.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the bracket. Can't really see that here. All right, but so here's the bracket. So, when we're looking at the bracket, you got to remember there are only 64 spots, and there are more than 64 good epics. In fact, if you did this 2 years ago, you might struggle to fill this bracket with 64 champions. But now it's like, it's overflowing. And so you're always going to lose some good champions. So we talked about some snubs, but one of the snubs that was just mentioned in chat is High Katoon. And honestly, High Katoon, I think, is maybe even in the top half of this bracket, might be a top 32 champion. Maybe floats more around like the 40, number 40 level. Fine, whatever. Definitely worth a top 64. But you start to look at this and you're like, who do you take out? And there are a few champions who maybe could drop out of this bracket, but there aren't that many. If you look at maybe some of the lower seeds, you could say, does Frenzy belong in the bracket at all? She feels pretty good. She's a void affinity HP burner. She's got an activation, I think is a single target activation, which is actually a fairly valuable skill. Not that many epic champions have it. Vala is the one that I think could have been booted entirely. Vala should have been out, and that would have made space for Inquisitor Shamil or a High Katoon. So I do think that champion could have been taken out. Maybe you could drop Hoskarul off the bottom. He's another 15 seed. I like Hoskarul. I think he deserves to be in the list. But when you start comparing him to the other champions, would the bracket feel incomplete without him? I don't think so. I think if you left Hoskarul off the list, you'd have one person who'd be like, oh, I wish Hoskarul was here. But I don't think a bunch of people would shout out, where is this champion? And then looking at the other sort of, 15s, like, do you drop Vergis off the list? Do you drop Phoenix off the list at 16 seed? It's like, I don't think you can. I think both of those champions deserve to be there. Vergis is still one of the hardest solo champions to kill, definitely in the epic rarity. And then Phoenix has so much use. He's very popular for very specific. He's like kind of a niche champion, but he's also got some good utility. Once you build him, you'll find other uses for him. And it just feels like he needs to be on the board as well. Maybe Anchorite I actually think Anchorite's higher than a 16 seed, but it's always hard to say because if you move him up, who do you move down? You know, if we look at the other 16 seeds, Mordecai. How is Mordecai a 16 seed? Umbral Enchantress, maybe. Maybe you could push Umbral Enchantress out of the top 64 at this point. A year ago, definitely not. Maybe at this point, there's been enough power creep to maybe move her, but she's still, that utility never goes away. It doesn't matter. You know, it's like when you're using a lockout champion, you only need to fire the skill once. It doesn't matter what the cooldown is. You know, so like that utility that she has been universally usable like steadily throughout her entire run in raid. There's no reason to devalue her really, you know. So we're talking about power creep more from a standpoint of like other champions maybe doing the job better, like other champions coming into the game who are more valuable, not for her job, but for other jobs that are, you know, of higher importance. I don't know. Like, should she be a 16 seed? But what I was talking about with the content creators was, how do you even pick 64 champions at this point? You know, like once you get into it, once you start looking at the actual whole picture, there are 100 champions that could have made this bracket that people probably wouldn't have blinked twice at. You know, but there are maybe 20 champions that just can't be excluded. And then you know, there's this big gap between those top 20 and then the 100 that could be included. There are 80 champions that need to fit into 44 spots. You know, and so it's like, there are going to be a lot of snubs. Going to be a lot of snubs. Anyway, just an interesting setup. So, okay, let's go back to chat here. John Hodgson, Ian Godwin, the Executioner. Good to see everybody. Sebastian Boogerberry, Burso. All right, Burso. Going old school, new versus pro style. I like it. Your brother's son was born today, OG. Congrats. Congrats on being an uncle or an aunt. That's fantastic. And congratulations to your brother and your brother's family. Hey, Suzanne. Good to see you. Anticonda. What's the point of these brackets? The point of these brackets is to have fun with kind of an elimination style tournament, like a March Madness style thing. If you haven't been following along, you should go check out the videos that are currently up on the site. The last couple of days, we've been covering what we are calling Raid Madness here on Colraid Plays. For fun. For fun. Yes, exactly. Hey, Cedric. Ease of access is a consideration. I think what's interesting about bringing the content creators in is although they did try to consider ease of access, you got to remember all of these experts, you've only seen one so far, but I've talked to 3 of them now. All of these experts have been playing the game for a very long time. One thing that I'm trying to add to the mix is that sense of a new player or a new free-to-play account, maybe even with an experienced player, where you're like, okay, where can I get the value early in the account to start that snowball rolling, right? To get that momentum going downhill so that the progress comes faster and faster. And I do think Haikatoon belonged in this bracket. And honestly, if we weren't struggling for so much time, like we were pushing this, we needed to get it out here. We needed to get it out here. I might have found a way to get Haikatoon into the bracket, but maybe we'll have to do that next year.
Yeah, for every hour we spent, we could have used another 3.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Bagpuss Cat became a member.
All right, we got a new member, Bagpuss Cat. Welcome to the Barbarians. Thank you for joining. The Barbarian Horde is still growing. I love it. Thank you so much. All right, so yeah, Hosgirl definitely deserves a chance. I mean, he's underappreciated. I do think he's actually a little bit underrated by the community. But simultaneously, can you live without him early in an account? Yeah, if you got him early in an account, would he be a carry? He'd probably be a decent carry, actually. He'd probably be pretty good. But it's, you know, it's just hard to say. Totally out of the loop. What is this and how the heck is Samuel not here? Yeah. So what we did, remember, before you get mad at us, right? What we did is in-game, this is very simple. We went to the index. We literally went through every epic champion in the entire game. We went here down to the epics. We pulled them up. We went to the reviews. We pulled up the reviews, and we recorded 10 of the 18 scores. Okay, now here's the thing. All of these scores aren't equally valuable. If you look at it, right, there is a void keep, a spirit keep, a magic keep, and a force keep. So there's 4 potion keep values, but there's only 1 demon lord, right? And the demon lord is clearly more important than all of the potion keeps combined. Not that you don't need somebody for the potion keeps, not that you don't need a team that can get you potions at the maximum stage 20, but would you rate potion keeps 4 times as valuable as clan boss? No, of course not. So what we did is we eliminated 8 of the 18 ratings. We decided to just keep 10. 1, because it's a nice round number, it leads to easy math, and 2, because these 10 really are more important overall. You also have to remember that these 18 ratings aren't all 18 spots, right? There's City of Centranos, there's Doom Tower, there's, content that you can't review. You can't do the Doom Tower bosses. You can't leave a review here. So the 10 that we took were Arena Offense, Dragons, Arena Offense, I should do them in the order we did. Arena Offense, Clan Boss, Hydra. We thought those were the 3 most important places, for like high value content, right? Those are really important for the longevity of your account. Then we took the farming dungeons, the gear dungeons. So Dragon, Spider, Fire Knight, Ice Golem. Obviously, that's where you're going to spend a lot of the early and mid game grinding the gear in those dungeons. And then we also took the scores from Iron Twins, Sand Devil's Necropolis, and Phantom Shogun's Grove. Now, I'm not sure that those are as valuable to a free-to-play account early on, but there's certainly content for which you start to plan at some point. So that's a little bit more endgame. Hydra's a little bit more endgame. Obviously, Arena and Clan Boss are just essential from the get-go, and so are the other dungeons. So you have a little bit of a mix of early game, mid game, and late game here without bringing in really hard to calculate factors like faction crypts. One of the things that you'll notice if you go through these ratings, just find faction wars on any champion. Any champion in the game, even rares. 80% of the champions in the game will have a rating of 4.7 or higher. Everybody does. Clearly, we have Horden here, who has a 4.9 in faction wars. Clearly, there are better faction war champions than Horden. So we go into the Banner Lords. It's like, let's just pick another one. Let's pick somebody who's probably better for faction wars, like Stag Knight. And let's go ahead and look at his review for faction wars. Oh, 4.9. Okay, let's look at somebody who's pretty good maybe, but might be a little bit worse than Stag Knight. Let's look at Ilfrig. What's his? 4.7. So even a guy who's like, you take a little knock on him, he's a 4.7. Now, is Ilfrig a worse faction crypt champion than Horden? Honestly, is he? No, he's probably better. The reason is this faction crypt's speed aura, although Ilfrig has all battles 15%. So that's the reason. But really? Horden's better than Ilfrig? And everybody's a 4.9 or a 4.7. So we just threw out faction crypts. We threw out campaign. We threw out the potion keeps in Minotaur. Because everybody, regardless of what roster they build, can find solutions for those places that don't need to be outstanding champions. Right? You don't need a top 64 epic in order to clear faction crypts. Sometimes you just need another body. Right? Sometimes you can take a horrible epic, but they give you one skill on a 5-turn cooldown, and that's enough. You know what I mean? You need one revive, or you need one block damage, or you need one block debuffs buff, and that's enough. So that's what we did. We took those scores, we took those 10 scores, and that allowed us to start to cut away some of the lower kind of tier champions. But the thing that, still happens is one, we didn't actually take anybody that didn't have a 4.7 in one of those 10 places. So if you went to somebody like Let's see if Marksman fits the bill. Like if you look at Marksman, right? All right, so Marksman actually has a 5 here down at Shogun's Grove. So he did get calculated. But if he didn't have that there, he doesn't have another 4.7. Now, if he had a 4.7 in Faction Crypts or in like Spirit Keep or something, we wouldn't have calculated him either. We only did it for champions who had a 4.7 in one of those 10 locations. And that's how we made a list. We came up with 100, after reviewing every champion in the game, there are like 260 epics or something. We came up with a list of 191. And then we did calculations for those, figured out which were the best of the best. We took 64 originally, and then looking at the list, we realized how many really good champions were not on the list. Seer was not on the list. Mordecai, not on the list. Man-Eater, not on the list. Seeker, not on the list. Not even close in some cases. Seer was like 150th. Mordecai was 191st. Seeker was like 88. Even Geomancer, who a lot of people think is one of the best, if not the best epic in the game, he was ranked like 31st, something like that. So we had to make some adjustments to make sure that the bracket looked a little bit more reasonable. And when we did so, you just have to, we basically added 10 champions in. We took 10 champions. We could have taken 15. We didn't. We just took 10. And so Haikatoon didn't make it. Inquisitor Shamil didn't make it. Husk didn't make it. Really good champions that could potentially compete in this field of 64 didn't make it. So that's what's happening. We're checking. If you think the seedings are wrong, I do too. Sun does too. So do all the content creators. The seedings, to some extent, are a little bit ridiculous in some cases. In other cases, they're pretty good. But you have to remember that this is the public voting system. And not all of these players watch YouTube. Not all of these players are hardcore raid players. Not all of these players have been playing a long time. Sometimes people just get a champion. They're like, oh, this guy is my most fun champion. 5s across the board. They might not even be in the content, but it doesn't matter. They can vote, so. All right, let's see. I'm sorry. Let me get to the Luke Bryan, my free-to-play has started. It's hard starting, but addictive, by the way. The winner is coming from the north side. Yeah, potentially. Definitely. Haikatoon's biggest detriment is Deacon. That's true. I think that has devalued her a little bit. You should have added a 4 champion playing around. Sure. Yeah, more work sounds like fun. No, I thought about it. I did think about it, but honestly, there was no way to shoehorn that in. Congrats on the HH collab, says Bryce. Thank you. Yeah. Triax. Fun? Not in my business. Yeah, that's true. Gotcha games, right? They're not fun. Smash the like button, please. Still happy with Doom Priest, says Alex. Want her, love her. She is fantastic, and every account that has her should build her. There is zero reason. I've never been able to come up with a reason that an account doesn't need Doom Priest. That doesn't mean she's the most valuable champ. She's just one of those champions that every account should have, like an Allure, like a Seeker. Like if you get these champions, you build them not because they're going to transform your account, but because there is always a use and there's always an opportunity to get value out of those champions. All right. I watched the video but forgot. Did Giscard make it? He did not. There's another good champion that didn't make it. Probably worth a top 64. In my opinion, probably worth a top 64. But here's the other thing that I've found out about this video series, or about like raid in general when doing this video series, which is, if I told you to name the top 20 epics in raid, you'd name 30 champions. You'd be like, oh, that's a top 20. Oh, that's a top 20. That's a top 20. If I just asked you yes or no, if I went through all 250 and you're like, how many of these are top 20 champions? You'd choose like 30 to 40 champions. Because not everybody gets the same roster. Not everybody has the same experience at the same time. And as a result, a top 20 champion is more of a category than a number. If this is a transformative champion, if this adds major value, if you get this champion from a shard and it feels like a huge win, that has to be a top 20 epic, right? But there are like 30 to 40 epics that might make you feel that way. And as a result, there are 30 top 20 epics. It's like, it's not mathematically sound, but, kind of it fits the bill emotionally, at least. Grim says, be right back. I'm giving 5-star ratings to every champion in the game. Could you say Seer is only good because of others? I mean, I don't think you can. What you can say is some champions require a composition around them in order to maximize their potential. That's fair, right? Some champions are more independent, can be solo champions, but may actually benefit less from a team composition. Some champions just require more of a setup in order to get full value out of them. Think about any ally attack champion in the game. Ally attack is incredibly powerful, but if you're running them solo, they lose that massive power. Is that saying that an ally attack champion isn't good without like a bunch of AoE A1s on the team or something like? No, it just depends what you're using them for and where you're using them. So Seer is great. How often do you run Seer solo? Never. Where can you run her? Well, you can run her in Arena, you can run her in Doom Tower, you can run her in Faction Crypts, you can run her in Dungeons, you can run her in 80% of the content in the game, and she's going to be the fastest wave clearer on your roster. So if you want to evaluate her as less valuable because she requires more setup, that is fair. That is up to you entirely. I'm not saying that. But could you say she's bad because she takes, like another champion to activate her? No, of course not. She's not a bad champion. She just needs a team composition. But then most champions do. If you have a great drop defense champion, but you don't have it followed up with a good nuker, the drop defense didn't do anything. Every champion needs another champion. How do you build Doom Priest the best? A lot of people like Relentless gear. Some people like regen gear, just make her completely unkillable. Relentless can be really good because you get extra procs of her passive, and that's the major power in her kit. The other way is to go super, super fast. Just get her up to like 300 speed, have her go like that. You could also speed tune her for a clan boss team. She's very good in clan boss, and she can be your full cleanser. And then you just need to make sure that she's at the top of your turn order. Hey, Freaky. Good day. Yeah, Grim, that's an experience that we all have, I think. Let me by the way, let me keep doing stuff here. I'm pushing Ice Golem Peak here on my HH Challenge account because you can see my my archer's up to level 53. She's about 3/4 of the way in mastery, so I'm getting into the red scrolls. And hopefully we can finish that off before the weekend. So Grim says, that's what I was trying to explain to a friend of mine, the guy who got me into the game. When he gets a new champion, he goes to HH and checks the ratings and gets frustrated when the champion doesn't give him a boost in the area that HH ranks him highly in. And yeah, this is the thing about champions. First of all, what roster you have matters. How progressed you are into the game matters. The gear that you can get onto that champion matters. There are a lot of things that go into making any champion work at their job. And one of the things about the HH rating system, and any rating system, this is not the fault of HH Gaming or anything like that. They do a great job. I actually think they put a lot of effort into their rating system, and I generally think they're pretty good. They're one of the better rating systems out there, but nothing's perfect. But the biggest issue is that it doesn't necessarily explain that this champion is a 3-star progression champion, but a 5-star endgame champion, or something like that. Like Seer is not as strong as a progression champion as she is at endgame. By the time you get to endgame with Seer, you've got the champions you need to activate her, you've got the gear to get the most out of her, and you in the content where actually wave clearing quickly is the largest advantage, right? Because once you get up into like hard mode dungeons and stuff, it's really hard to clear those waves, but Seer just erases them. They disappear. Like, look at me, I'm struggling with this wave here. I'm already 1 minute and 41 into this run, Seer would get you through these 2 waves in like 25 seconds. So she saves you minutes of time. And when you're at endgame, all of that time is multiplied by the difficulty, right? It's just longer to do more difficult content. And she makes it easy again. She makes it feel like you're back at level 7 or something, you know? So that value really comes into play late. So if you look at her and you say, oh, she's got a 4.5 star rating or something on HH's account, and she's awesome at Dragon, and you're like, you get her into Dragon and she does nothing for you. It's like, well, you're only clearing Dragon 14 right now. You don't have a setup for her. You don't have a reset champion. You don't really have great gear on her. You don't have her in a Savage set. It's like, yeah, she's not going to be great, you know? But that's not always explained in a rating system. So you can get frustrated if you just think the number equals the performance. It doesn't. The number equals the potential, not the performance. The performance is up to you as a player to figure out how to get that performance out of the champion. But that 5-star rating is a potential. When optimized, when played at its utmost, that champion is God tier. And that's true with Seer. Yeah, of course AJ says that. You know, and he should say that. Yeah. Fusion thoughts. I'm probably going for it. I haven't had much time to look at it. I looked at the kit initially, and I was kind of blown away. And I think he might be the best control champion in the game. And as a result, on my main account, I'm absolutely getting this champion. I will not be going for it on any of my other accounts. It's got to be 1 fusion this month. I can't do more than 1. Okay. All right. So yeah, you can see how good Archer is here at level 53. She's really the backbone of this team. I've got her and Melga, who's behind my head. Melga's in regen. She's really tanky. She's not booked. She's not that fast. Hey, Boogerberry
became a member.
Boogerberry became a member. Welcome to the Shadowkin. All right. As the Barbarian Horde grows, the Shadowkin also grows. Maybe the Horde is casting the shadow. I don't know, but I enjoy it. Welcome, Barry. Thanks for joining. But as I was saying about Melga doesn't have books. She's not that fast, but she's very sturdy. She's got her own shield. She does have a 1-star soul. And so basically what's happening is everybody else will die at some point. And Melga and Archer will just keep churning along. No problem. They'll stay alive through everything unless they're weak affinity. And they are the same affinity. So if they're weak affinity, it can be a problem. And then, if everybody else dies, eventually Melga will bring a couple of them back. And Archer might heal them up. Or, they'll just slowly work their way through this. Now, I'm not going for speed here. I don't care about speed. You can see I don't have my Rathalos here. I don't have my Mordecai here. Because all I really want is Melga and Archer to get me to hard mode. I want to get through stage 25. I still have 4-star gear on Archer. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get to stage 25 before this weekend, which is when the Ice Golem Challenge is. And it looks like I might be the Ice Golem Challenge player from Team Shadowverse. But if we can get to 21, 22, I'm going to feel pretty good. If we can only get to like 18 or 19, that's respectable, but it's not where I want to be. I think with these two champions, the issue is going to be getting through that magic. This is a magic stage at, what is this? I think this is 17. And then we have the magic at 21. So like getting past 21 is going to be really hard. I think we're going to get past this one, but we'll have to see. Booger is more fun to say. The new fusion champion is broken. Yeah, we'll have to see. All right, well, listen, it is Tuesday, and we've been talking for a little while, and we started a couple hours late. So I do want to get a takeover in today. We're going to just let this run finish, but then we're going to go ahead and get a takeover in. So if you haven't done this before, let me just take it one time through the top. Basically, what's going to happen is you want to join our Discord community. There will be a link in the description of this video. You can just click on that. In the Discord, On the left hand side, you kind of scroll down through the channels. You're going to find an area called the Coaching Corner. And in the Coaching Corner is a chat channel called the Wheel of Takeover. You want to join that channel. You will see a message from my editor, son. No, son, my editor, not my editor's son. That's what got me in trouble in the first place. And you just need to react to that. So go ahead and react to that. And then that will put you into the drawing for a takeover today. Now, to be ready for your takeover, what you want to do is make sure you have your email and password available, your login ready to go, so that as soon as you win, you can DM me in Discord that information. I will start the login process. We'll get that going right away. Sun will give you permissions to come hang out in the voice channel that I'm hanging out in my Discord. You won't be able to speak, but you will be able to hear me in real time because there is a delay on the stream. So you're probably going to want to mute your stream and just hang out with me. Shoot me a DM about what kind of takeover you're looking for today. You know, if you're looking for clan boss help, if you're looking for arena help, dungeons, I don't know, what 6-star you want to build next, you know, that kind of thing, champion rebuild. There are 2 things I am not doing today. I am not doing Hydra, and I am not doing gear cleanses. I have limited time and limited energy right now, and those 2 are kind of slow, high energy kind of takeovers. So we're not doing those today, but anything else is on the board basically. So yeah, Grim, no gear cleanses today. All right. So yeah, so that's where we are. You can see I'm getting my red scrolls finally. Getting my red scrolls finally on my 2 6-star champions here. Okay, so I think that's everything. Son, did I miss anything?
I think you got it.
I think I got it. All right. So go ahead. We're going to give everybody about 3 minutes to react to the Wheel of Takeover, and then we're going to pull our first winner and get a move on. By the way, if you haven't seen the videos for Raid Madness, you should definitely check it out. We have also launched our merch store, although there was a little bit of trouble integrating it into the channel. I'm not sure if, in fact, it is integrated yet. Let's see. It doesn't look like it's up there. So let me see. All right, so I've added a link to the merch store in the description of this video. It should also be up on the main YouTube page. But that way, if you're interested, you could go and look. It's some relatively straightforward merch. We have a hoodie, a t-shirt, a hat, and stuff, all with our Cole Red Plays logo on it. We also have a Raid Madness t-shirt. I like the design for that. That was a lot of good work by Sun, my editor, to get that design together. So yeah, so go check it out. And, you know, if you're interested, but that is also a good place to know, like, those are the kinds of things that our winners will be winning from the Raid Madness bracket contest. So if you are interested in filling out your own prediction bracket, that will be going live Friday. I think we're doing Friday at noon Eastern time. So that's -5 UTC. The bracket will finally, oh, no, I'm lying. It's not Friday. When are we doing it? No, we are. Yeah, we are doing it on Friday. The bracket opens on Friday. You can do your predictions, and then the bracket is going to close Sunday night at midnight. So you've got 2.5 days to do your predictions, and then we're going to open the voting for the first round because we need to get that done. So make sure you head over there as soon as you can. You can already view the bracket in the videos, so you can see the whole bracket in the videos. but you can't actually get into the bracket just yet because we need to get all the content creators to complete their brackets before we open it to the public. And we're still waiting on 2 brackets. So hopefully that'll be done quickly. And if we get that done early, maybe we'll open the bracket a little bit early. Grim Giving, when I win the takeover, you are going to get me teams for every Doom Tower boss, right? Sure. That's not a problem. I can do that. You're not very familiar with everything in Discord. Yeah, don't worry about that. You'll learn. It's not that hard. It's just a matter of like getting in there and being willing to do it. And so basically on the left side are all the different channels in our Discord server, and you can go and check out the different options in each section. But you will have to scroll down a little bit probably to find the coaching corner because we're about 2/3 of the way down. There are some, okay, just getting into the red scrolls with Archer. I could probably 2-man this, which would give me a little bit more XP on Archer, but I almost feel like I don't want more XP on Archer because it's just going to take so long to get the scrolls anyway. I mean, at this point, she probably needs another like 90 runs here, and so she's going to max out on XP anyway. And Melga still needs some scrolls. You would love a 1-key Nightmare and Clan Boss and help to push Ultra Nightmare. That is a good thing to ask for in a takeover. Faye has you stuck, Chiron. That's also a good thing to ask for. I will say very quickly, if you are looking for solutions to any boss in the game, I have covered the vast majority of them in videos right now. So if you don't get a takeover, you should still go check out my videos on the various bosses. All of the Doom Tower bosses have been covered in depth. I also have a lot of clan boss videos. I have videos on Hydra. I have videos on all the dungeons. I have videos on some of the dungeon hard modes. I haven't completed that video series yet. I have a video on Sand Devil's Necropolis. I don't have a video on Phantom Shogun's Grove, and I don't have a video on Iron Twins, although my members have voted that we need to do an Iron Twins video. And even though I didn't get it done in February, it was the February vote, the intention is to do that in the coming weeks. So hopefully next week, once we get the Raid Madness underway and the initial madness of the event kind of is over and we don't have to worry about the schedule so much and we have a little bit more time in our week, I will get to Iron Twins. So expect an Iron Twins video probably in the next 10 days or so. I'm hoping. That's my plan. But yeah, so if you're looking for a Dark Fae video, or you want to know how to beat Bommel or Scarab Boss, or if you're getting stuck in hard mode, Dragon, or if you're struggling with level 25 Spider, or whatever it is, those videos are out there. Just go ahead and search my channel in YouTube for that title, and it's, for that name of that boss, it'll pop up. And there are good videos there. Joshua Lins, last week I got a takeover and I said I did 25 million to Nightmare. I actually have 1-keyed it already prior to that. Okay. Dark Fate tomorrow, and that will be clearing all rotations on easy done. Very nice. That is always a good moment in an account where if you've cleared all 3 Doom Tower normal levels or, clears rotations, that's great. It's the first game like this I have ever played. Sports games mostly, and shooters definitely need the help. Yeah, it's much more tactical. I love sports games. I've played a lot of shooters. I like shooters. I actually like sports games more than shooters, probably. But I like tactical games the most, and this is a highly tactical game. Yeah, burnout happens, Divilman. It definitely happens. Yeah, John. Exclusive champions are not my jam. I don't like it. I really don't like exclusive champions. I don't like that they've done that to the game. I wish they never made that happen. I think you could do a collaboration where you just have champions that are accessible through special events during the collaboration and then go into the regular roster of champions. There's still 160 legendaries or something, 170 legendaries. So, no. There's like 170 non-void legendaries. I think there's over 200 legendaries at this point. So it's not like she's going to be a super common champion anyway. But why penalize people who weren't around during the collaboration? I don't understand that. Colred just needs to open up his paid takeover services. Colred does need to do that. Hey, MZ, good to see you. June, did I get the Archer on my main account also, or just the challenge account? I got her on both accounts. I did. I got her on the main account first, actually. I got her during one of the early shard pull progressive events. I think I got her from... I don't remember. Son, do you remember? It was a shard, but was it a sacred shard event? It might have been sacred shard.
When what happened? I'm sorry.
When I got Archer on my main account. I'm trying to remember if that was ancient shards or sacred shards.
Ooh, I'm fairly certain it wasn't ancient, wasn't it?
It was? Yeah, it may have been. Was that in a video, or did I pull her? I think I pulled her off video.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah,
That's what happened.
Went all in for her, didn't get her, and then you were pulling like some random shards, and then you got her, and I think that was ancient.
Yeah, I think what happened is I did a full shard video where I pulled like 100 shards or something, 100, and I think I pulled like 100 shards. I didn't hit her. And then like the next day I got 2, ancient shards out of clan boss, and I pulled the first one and hit Archer. I think that's what happened. If I remember correctly, it was something like that. I'll have to actually go back and look at those videos. So on my main account, I got Archer early on. And then on this challenge account, I actually got her through the champion training tournament. I won the champion training tournament. Nobody else even qualified to get her. Nobody went up to the 12,500 points. So I won with like 13,000 points, which was extremely lucky. Like very, very few brackets looked like mine. And I just happened to get lucky on this particular account. So it was an extra sacred on a Sunday
Ready
off
to
camera.
spin the wheel?
Something like that. Yeah, let's spin this wheel. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I am starting to see Zenogre, like the name Zenogre, and think Zenogre, which is driving me nuts because it's not, it's like Zenogre. There's no monster called an ogre. It's an ogre. She's a Zenogre. Like that's what she does. She kills ogres. But, everybody says it's Zenogre. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of cooler sounding.
Yeah, it is.
But it's like those people who call the
all right.
The shopping company, the Target, like the retail chain Target, they call it Target. Like that drives me nuts. I don't like that.
That's right. We going to Target.
You never called it Target in your life, and you know that.
No, I don't. I have.
Target.
I know somebody who's obsessed with Target for some reason.
Yeah,
and that's they're all about the Target.
All right. So,
all right,
what's
got
our
result? First winner.
What is our result here? Who's our winner?
Joshua. With the W's.
Joshua.
Coming in hot.
Joshua. Congrats, Joshua. I feel like Joshua won before. Did Joshua win before? What's happening to me now? We've done so many Takeover Tuesdays, and we've seen so many people in the chat over and over again who are constantly going for it, that sometimes somebody wins and they're like, wow, I've been trying for months. And in my head, I'm like, hasn't this guy won 3 times already? It's like, no, it hasn't. What? Oh, there we go. All right, let's see Joshua. All right, will do. Get this show on the road. Get this row on the show. Let's see. I'm still getting used to my new setup, so excuse me for being a little bit slower than normal. Not that I'm ever super fast about this stuff, but... All right, Joshua. Let's check it out. All right. We got a clan, we got a cluster mate here. Which clan are you on? And Joshua, you are in the Red Wardens. You're my clan mate, not Sons this time. We got Team Cole Red here. I like it. I like it. It's always good to see. We get a lot of takeovers from clan mates, which is not something that we plan, but it's always cool. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the account. We are level 63. What login day are we looking at? 137. All right. So still relatively early in the game. Month and a half about away from Sill of the Drakes, but that'll be a nice moment for the account. Okay. So let's see. Joshua, what are we looking at, Joshua? Main goal I'm trying to figure out is Hydra. I have a lot of good champions, but haven't built them yet. Currently doing like 9 to 10 million on normal Hydra. I don't know if you heard me at the top of the takeover, Joshua. I'm not doing Hydra today. Hydra is a real time investment. You know, can typically take at least an hour of playtime plus all the theory crafting and rebuilding and whatever. I can give you some coaching on Hydra. I would be willing to go ahead and look at a Hydra team for you, but I'm not actually going to do any kind of rebuild on Hydra. So if that's okay with you, if you're just looking for some advice, then absolutely, we can do that, no problem. But I'm not doing a full Hydra takeover today. We could do, you know, a little bit on that. We could do a little bit on something else if you have anything else. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. All right, so let's take a look at the roster. We need to take a look at the roster anyway. Yeah, I did say it once before, but then we got distracted by another conversation. And so people who joined the stream after I said that may have not heard me. But okay, so right away you've got Newt. Now Newt is God tier damage dealer, so he's going to factor in. You do have a Husk down here. He's another really good one. You have a Mordecai who's an AoE HP burner. So some nice options here. Let's take a look at your vaults. All right, so what I'm going to do here is, first of all, I'm going to start looking for solutions. Now, anybody out there who is looking to put together like their first reliable Hydra team, let's say you're still trying to just clear normal one key all the time, or maybe you can clear normal with one key all the time or two keys all the time with just like the extra outliers in your roster, but you're trying to like lock down that one hard mode Hydra team. A really good practice is take some time, take a moment when raid isn't super busy. When is raid not super busy? But take a moment when you've completed your dailies and your advanced quests and you have a little bit of time and you're thinking about, you know, what champion do I level in the next champion training, or, you know, something like that. And now take a moment to think about Hydra and start to project what kinds of champions could provide a lot of value there in Hydra. And so what you want to do is you want to turn on all of this, get into the champion filter here, and start thinking about individual solutions for individual Hydra heads. So remember that the Hydra heads, each one needs to have sort of its own solution. Let's forget about a Mischief tank for a second. You could do a Mischief tank, but the head of Mischief generally needs a Hex debuff. So you want to look for a Hex champion. You have the head of Torment that needs, that puts fears out there. So you need something to remove the fears. They can't be blocked. I don't think they can be resisted even. So maybe they can. Maybe they can be resisted but not blocked. But, Inquisitor Shamil solves that problem for you. Or a perfect Veil champion like Duchess or maybe Rector Drath can solve that problem for you, at least mitigate it. You're going to want to have a Provoke for the head of Despair, I think it is. Whatever the one head that can be provoked, that's the cleanser for the enemy team, for the Hydra. So if you can provoke that head, then they don't cleanse their debuffs, and that allows you to do more damage, to get your devoured champions back more quickly, to decapitate heads, and then apply debuffs so that you maximize your damage on those decapitated heads. You may want a solution for, poison, the poison head, whatever the poison head is called. In terms of a cleanse, you might want a single target nuke if the head of Wrath is going to be out there, because you try to avoid hitting the head of Wrath so that you don't activate its big, massive AoE. If you know that the head of Wrath is out there, you might want an increased defense or a shield or a strengthen or an ally protect to make sure that when that head of Wrath head gets triggered and does its massive AoE, you've got the defenses there to get you back in the fight. You might also want to consider the emergency situation of having a reviver, whether or not that's going to be valuable for your team. Some teams can just survive a long time and don't need a reviver. Other teams, champions will die from time to time, and having a reviver can be really helpful. So there are all sorts of different ways to consider building a Hydra team, but you always need to think about specific solutions. So you come here to the champion filter, and let's just look at debuffs first. Let's just do some debuffs. So let's start with Provoke, which is probably the most important debuff here. All right, now you've got a Seeker built. You've got a Sandlashed Survivor built, but her Provoke is, it is 50% chance. That's not bad. And she is an ally protection champ. You have a Husk here who can do double duty. He has a Provoke on his A1 as well. This is actually lower. It's 40%. You've got Drexstar Blood Twin. The nice thing about Drexstar, it's an AoE Provoke, so you can just throw it out there. Remember that most of these champions, all of these champions so far, are affinity-based champions, which means they can weak hit against the head of Despair. Let's go ahead and just take a quick look. I think it's the head of Despair. I always struggle with the names of these heads. Head of Decay? It's the head of Decay, not Despair. Is there no head of Despair at all? There's no head of Despair at all. Okay. It's the head of Decay. I knew it was, I thought it was the head of Despair. Now I'm thinking the Pit of Despair from Princess Bride. Never mind. Okay, so, so we have the head of Decay, not Despair. So this is currently a Spirit Affinity. I think in the other rotation, it is Force Affinity. So if you're a Magic Affinity Provoker, you will be Strong Affinity into one and Weak Affinity into the other. So the better setup would probably be to have a Spirit Affinity Provoker if you can, because a Spirit Affinity Provoker will be Neutral Affinity into this one and Strong into the other one. So I think there are only two affinities of the Head of Decay. Rockbreaker, okay. Yeah, he could be a good one. So, think about the affinities of the champions based on the solution that you need them for. If you're talking about the Head of Mischief, in this case is Magic Affinity. So think about that. So right now, let's go back to the champions. We're like, okay, we've got a spirit affinity head of not despair, but decay. So we're going to go back here to our filter. And right now, we're just thinking about one head. All right, forget about everything else. People are shouting out other champions or other things that are good. We're solving one problem at a time right here. All right, so let's go back to that Provoke. All right, we get all of the Provoke champions. And so we start to think, okay, you know, there are some Provokers here that are magic affinity. These are good Provokers, good champions. All right, Taragi the Frog is an excellent champion. He's got a decreased attack on his A1. He's got an AoE Provoke here. You want to also think about cooldowns. This is on a 3-turn cooldown. And if you don't have a really fast team with a fast turnaround in terms of cooldowns, you may want to bring 2 Provokers. It's really valuable to have a champion who has an A1 Provoke. We have an A1 Provoke from Seeker, right? It's a 50% chance, and like I said, he's booked. You have an A1 Provoke from Husk. When booked, it's a 40% chance. These are good champions to bring in when you have an A1 Provoke. Skaramis, I think, is here. Okay. Now, the other thing you need to consider is champions who place provokes that aren't hits so that affinity doesn't matter. And both Skaramis and Duke the Pierce do this. You can see, has a 75% chance, this book's to 100% chance of placing a provoke debuff on all enemies for 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown. But there's no hit. So this can't be negated by a weak hit. So that means it is actually affinity friendly. This is also true for Duke the Pierce's Provoke. Places a Provoke, no hit. So when you're considering affinity, you may still want to consider champions of affinities, not a void champion, but an affinity champion that doesn't care about the affinity of its target. Somebody mentioned Rockbreaker. This is also a place. Places a provoke on all enemies. So can't weak hit, 100% chance with a nice counterattack. So really good. Okay. And yes, if you have Vizix, Vizix is also an excellent Hydra champion. Right, so the nice thing here is that I think if I were going to build Provokers, right, you already have 2 built at 60. Seeker is good. Seeker is just flat out good as a Provoker for Hydra, regardless of the affinity, because he does so much and he gets so many A1s. Every attack is an A1. Every single attack is an A1, and he gets extra turns. So you're going to get a lot of chances to provoke. So even if you're weak hitting some of the time, you'll probably land your provokes fairly often. The flip side of this, or not the flip side, but the additional consideration, I guess, is the fact that he just increases the turn meter of your overall team composition so much that it's going to allow everybody to get more skills off. Now, you could pair him with a Husk. They're different affinities. 2 A1s, both okay chances, you know, or you could pair him with somebody who has a guaranteed provoke like Duke the Pierced or Skaramis, like either one of these champions. So if we're trying to project the teams that you have, Seeker, you should try. Definitely at normal level, like Seeker's awesome. I have used Seeker up to brutal, even when he's weak affinity, and most of the time he does the job. Sometimes he's my backup, sometimes he's my main provoker, but does a great job. Husk does another great thing, which is that he has, here it is, an AoE that is based on enemy max HP. So he's very good for Hydra anyway. So if you're thinking about building him to 6 stars, now you have another A1 provoker. Potentially, you put Seeker and Husk on different teams. Then you have 2 A1 provokers, and then you're looking for your more reliable provokers, and you have a lot of them, right? Burngiri's A1 is a provoke, by the way, so that's another A1 provoker. I like Burngiri quite a lot. I don't know that I would build Burngiri at this point just for Hydra, but it can be a bombable solution as well, and can help. So you can solo Scarab Boss with him. So he's a very good champion. He also has an AoE stun, 60% chance, which is legit. So here are your set of provokers. You know, Drexlar, AoE, but he's also got that HP burn happening. So good options, good options. I would start with the champions you've already built. All right, now let's start thinking about hexes. Right, hex is another debuff that's really important. Okay, we don't have a single hex. So now what you have to do is you have to start thinking about a cursed set. And who does a cursed set go on? So optimally, it would be a champion who has multiple AoEs, preferably an A1 AoE. So let's just look at these champions. Do we have anybody who has an A1 AoE? I mean, you have a quad hitter, right? But I don't know that you're going to put her in a cursed set at any point. Nobody's jumping out at me as an A1 AoE. Am I missing somebody? Sauce says, Head of Decay rotates Power, Magic, and Spirit. Okay, so it's all three affinities? That's good to know. Geomancer. You're right. Geomancer has an A1 AoE. It would be an unusual choice to put Geomancer in a cursed set, I think. Right? He's such a good damage dealer. You do have some freedom with Geomancer, which is kind of nice because he does his damage primarily on his reflect. You can almost build him any way you want. You do need to get the HP burn down. You want the weaken down. So you need accuracy, but you can get accuracy from any set. So you could do like perception and cursed if you wanted. One of the things that you do want to consider is how often you're going to be using that A1 if that's the only AoE that is out there, because it's not 100% chance to land hex, and you want to make sure that you've got, you know, that going out there. So for instance, if he only uses his A1 1 out of every 4 turns, even though he's got an A1 that's an AoE, it's not going to be enough. You know, whereas if you've got another champion, say, who's got multiple AoEs and just cycles through them, now you're just like, okay, that's an even better cursed set champion. So it does feel like you're going to need to look to the cursed set here for a solution for the Head of Mischief. Yeah. All right, now you want to start thinking about, so those are the two most important heads, by the way. You want to do the Head of Decay and the Head of Mischief. Like, those are the ones that you need to control. In fact, those are the ones you're probably going to be killing the most often as well. Head of Mischief should really be your target most of the time. You just want to burn through that head and get them off the board if you can. You would rather deal with the Head of Wrath if you had to, like, or the Head of Torment or something. It's generally better. And that brings us to the Head of Torment. So now we've got a question, which is, do you have Inquisitor Shamil? So that's a Void Epic from the Sacred Order. You do not. Okay. So if you don't have Inquisitor Shamil, now what we start looking for is Perfect Veil. So champions under Perfect Veil will not be feared when they hit the boss. Everybody else will be, except for if it gets removed by Inquisitor Shamil. So Perfect Veil. Sorry, it's not a debuff. Perfect Veil is a buff. Okay, so you got a couple of options here. None of these, I don't think either of these grant. I think this is all self-buffing. Yeah. Perfect Veil this champion, Perfect Veil this champion. Yeah, Perfect Veil this champion. You know, another option that you could go for may not work on your account if you don't have it, but another option you could use, oh, you do, is you could try Doom Priest. Get Doom Priest fast, maybe get her in Relentless, you know, you could try that as well. Because what could happen is even though everybody gets the fears, even if she gets the fears, she will still get a turn, right? And her passive fires and removes the fears from everybody else. So it's better than nothing. It's definitely better than nothing. It's one of the better cleansing solutions because in a lot of cases, you know, like we said, you can't block these debuffs. So you do need to cleanse them. And this is a champion that can cleanse them off of everybody simultaneously. And, you know, if you get her going fast enough and in Relentless Gear, she's just going to get those extra procs. She adds sustain. She has an increased attack. So she brings a lot to the fight, actually. So this would be something to consider. So right now we're looking at maybe Seeker, Doom Priest, right? We're looking at that. We do have 2 increased attack champions there. Okay. So now we got to start thinking about, you know, other champions that we put around that. You typically want 2 damage dealers, at least, maybe a third. We have Newt. Newt is absolutely fantastic. You do have Rathalos. Rathalos is also great in AoE content. You also have Sun Wukong. You could potentially bring all 3 if you can fit them into the team. And then you need to think about, you know, can you block buffs or strip buffs from the Head of Mischief if the Head of Mischief steals the buffs? So we want to think about that. Now we're going to go back to the filter. Let's look for the block debuffs buff. And you have Ugo. Ugo is fantastic, but you have Wukong built. Of course, I just looked at Wukong. So you have Wukong built. So probably Wukong is going to be your go-to. So as we're looking at this, and this, by the way, is sort of generalized because I'm not looking at a particular rotation. But let's say we come in here and we say, all right, who's a good team right now? Now, this is not bad. You have a lot of the champions that we were just talking about. I think Deacon is a good speed lead to get you going a little bit faster and give you that AoE drop defense. The Leech will play. Pretty good chance that that's your lead anyway. Seeker is going to give you that turn meter fill and that Provoke. You want to back up Provoke, and that's what you're lacking right now. But let's go ahead and throw in Wukong as your buff strip and block buffs debuff champion. That's really good. I don't think, like, Mordecai's not bad here, but unless you're using Rathalos, I don't think Mordecai has a spot on his own. I would rather use somebody here that brings more utility than just an AoE HP burn. So, you know, a cleanser, a reviver, maybe a reviver. You don't have a reviver really. Yeah, so a couple of different options here maybe for this spot. I do like the Doom Priest. So it seems like, you know, your concept here is pretty good for this, at least this rotation. And then obviously Helicath provides the shields and a weaken on the A1, which is nice, and then the block damage buff. So that could potentially give you a lot of sustain. But where's the second damage dealer right now? We don't really have one. You know, so the question is, do we go with somebody like Coldheart? Do we go with somebody like Geo? Do we go with somebody like Annex? I'd probably bring, you know, so this is my thought. I would probably bring in Newt. Now, Newt is your hardest hitting champion, probably, right? But there's a problem. Now you've got Wukong and Newt, same affinity. Those are your 2 major damage dealers. One's an AoE, one's, you know, a single target. Although actually Wukong is kind of both, right? Can do decent single target damage as well. But being both Spirit Affinity, you're going to struggle with certain, you know, you're going to struggle with Magic Affinity bosses. So this might not feel great. You might just have to suck it up. But another option here would be, you know, to go with Rathalos. Maybe in that direction. You could try Annex. Well, Annex is Spirit Affinity again. Yeah, so, you know, if you were going to go with somebody else, I'd probably be looking towards Rathalos, which means maybe now Mordecai's Mordecai sneaks back in. You could also, depending on how much time you have, right, go this way and go with Husk. And now you've got a second Provoke in a different affinity and an AoE max HP hit. So this actually feels like it rounds out the team a little bit better. You got 2 damage dealers from 2 different affinities, 2 A1 Provokers from 2 different affinities, a max HP hit. You know, you got another champion that does good single target and AoE damage. You got the buff strip. This feels pretty solid. Now, you are missing some things here. You have some sustain. You have a leech and you have the heals from Doom Priest, but not a ton of sustain. You also don't have a revive. So, you know, you might want to think about throwing a reviver, healer, cleanser type onto the end here. I don't know. Tagore. Tagore could be awesome for this team. This is an underrated guy. He is in the bracket of 64. I don't know if we've talked about him yet, but we will be talking about him in the days to come. You have an Ursula. Ursula can also be really good. You also have an Ugo, right? Now, Ugo is not a great reviver, but she is a great clan boss champion. So one thing you could do potentially is pull your Wukong out and put Ugo in his place, right? And then maybe get a different damage dealer in here. Maybe, I don't know. You could think about that too. I like Wukong right now because he's built. And he's very good. I'm not saying he's not good. He's very good. He hits hard. He does his job. As long as you have the accuracy on him, you have the 3-star soul, right? And if you can get that 4-star soul, you're going to get that extra 38% crit damage on him. And then he's going to be hitting really hard and doing lots of good work. So right now we have 2 pretty good damage dealers. We have 1 Provoker. I like the Tagore. You have Royal Guard, by the way, who's also an excellent AoE max HP hitter, kind of like Husk, maybe even a little bit better than Husk. So that's a champion to look out for in the future. We have our decreased defense. We don't have an AoE weaken, but that's okay. Now, if we look at, let's go back to the champions. Let's look at revives. I don't see Ursula. I don't see an Ursula. There she is. Does she not get a revive until she's ascended? Oh, she doesn't unlock the skill until she's ascended. So this is something to know about the filter, that if the skill's not unlocked, you won't see it in the filter. So you do have an Ursula here who could potentially be... Now, Ursula's great. Ursula's a fantastic champion, super powerful champion. She's a 2 seed in Raid Madness in the bracket. And I think she's worth a 2 seed or at the very least a 3 seed. She is a top 15 epic without a doubt across the board, I think. And you could easily make an argument for her being in like the top 6 or 7. So, you know, the AoE decrease attack is really nice. You do have turn meter decrease on the A1, which can help in some places, not in Hydra. And then you have a really nice revive. There's a downside to this, which is that she's not bringing a ton in terms of keeping you alive. Right? She's reviving you when you've died, is what I mean. She's not necessarily keeping you from dying. Now, if we look at Tagore, right? Oh, this is the wrong one. It's this one up here. So this guy brings an increased defense buff for 1 champion every time he A1s. Increase speed buff on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Plus heals all allies by 15% of this champion's max HP, and his HP pool is decent. So it's a nice heal. Then he's got a shield with the AoE revive, right? And then it also decreases the damage received by allies with 50% HP or less. So this is more sustain. right? In the sense that the shield will keep you alive. The heals will keep you alive, right? The revives will bring you back, and the passive will keep you alive. So there's a bit more defensiveness going on here. I like this. I wouldn't mind that. I mean, if that increased defense was an AoE, I think it'd be OP. You also get an increased speed buff here. I think you get more utility out of Tagore than you do out of Ursula. I would consider bringing him up for Hydra. I don't want to overemphasize this champion because I don't have any experience with him at 6 stars. I saw this champion when he got introduced to the game, and I was like, this is a great epic support who I would like to build. But I haven't had an opportunity to actually get him there on an account yet. So maybe, that's a question you can ask in the Discord or something. But I would definitely consider Tagore. You also have Melga, who does have a 2 random ally revive with a nice shield and a continuous heal here. The shield is on a 3-turn cooldown. You've also got a 50% chance, which actually looks like the 70% chance of removing a random debuff from an ally in the A1. This is another really good sustain champion, maybe even a little bit better than Tagore in terms of sustain, but you don't get the speed buff. Hard to say. Okay, so if we go back to this team setup, here we are. So, now in this last spot here, you would put in that sustain champion. I don't think the heals from Doom Priest and just the leech from Deacon Armstrong are going to be enough to keep you alive against any serious hits. We're using Doom Priest as our cleanser, so we don't need to deal with any of that. We do have 2 A1 provokers of different affinities, and then probably you bring in a reviver. You do have Dur here as well, who's a decent reviver. But I would probably end up shooting for... Where's our reviver? Where's Tagore? There. So this might be a team that I would shoot for. This is pretty good. Now, there are other options. Remember, think about your provokes first. Think about your hexes. In this particular case, we don't have a good way to get hex out there. So you might struggle a little bit with the Head of Mischief. One thing that you can focus on for that head is AoE damage. And, Hux and Husk, not Hux. Husk. Husk and Wukong have decent AoE damage, but neither of them are phenomenal at just breaking a Hydra head and freeing a champion. They're both not bad. They're not bad. They both hit decently hard, especially Wukong's A2 and Husk's nuke. But you might want to try to squeeze, a hex in here somewhere. And I'm not sure really where that would be. It's hard to say. So, that could be a weakness of this team. Again, as you go up in difficulty, hopefully you'll have access to more champions who can do the things that you need done. We could completely rebuild, move away from this. I mean, obviously you still need the provokes, but you could go with like a Duke the Pierced kind of provoke or a Scaramus provoke, and then try to use one of those. Like, at least Duke the Pierce has an AoE hit, and so you could put him in Cursed maybe, and that might provide your Hex debuff. Maybe Newt for Husk would work on this rotation. That's another option. I mean, part of the issue here is that each of these DPS champions is bringing in a debuff that you need. Right? You have a buff strip and a block debuff from Wukong, and then you have a provoke from Husk. So replacing those can be a little bit tricky. Now, the first thing I did was I put Newt onto the team, and then I took him off. Right? But you could certainly put him back into the team. You could just put him back in for a Husk. Maybe your Seeker is fast enough to get the job done on the provoke all by himself. If you can get to a 2-to-1 ratio, you're basically getting 4 hits, I think. I think Seekers is both hits, right? Nope, just says a 50% chance of placing a Provoke. So, but a 50% chance is pretty good. And if you're going at a 2-to-1, you know, that's a 75% chance. Might be enough. Might be enough. Yeah. So if your Seeker is already at 2-to-1, what speed are we running at here? Yeah, 247. That should be fast enough for normal Hydra. And then, of course, with the turn meter fill, right? You get all that turn meter fill. And that's true for Seeker as well as everybody else. You know, so moving forward, think about those champions that could fill multiple roles. Do you have maybe a Provoke champion who could also be a cleanser or a healer or, you know, something like that? Do you have, you know, a turn meter champion who can also fill a role? Do you have somebody? We need somebody who can drop the hex. You know, and then we need at least 2 really solid nukers to break our champions out of, you know, danger when they get swallowed. Or not swallowed, but devoured. Because it's devoured first, and then they kind of get choked, and then they swallowed. I think it's like, or digested. Maybe it's digested. Is it swallowed or digested? I forget what the actual term is in game. But either way, it's unpleasant. Nobody wants to get digested. Nobody's looking to get digested. Nobody wants to end up in the Sarlacc pit. Shock, you said Seeker does it on both hits, even though description reads like it doesn't. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he does it on both hits, but it's not 2 chances. But I'm not 100% sure if that's right. Maybe it is 2 chances. I don't remember. But he's very good. He can be very good as your provoker. I've used him in Hydra, like I said, all the way up to brutal. He doesn't always get the job done, but usually he gets it done frequently enough that with the RNG, you can just run it over and over and over again, and eventually you'll get the key that you need. But sometimes it takes a couple of hours, and that can always be frustrating. So the greater the reliability, the less you have to do that kind of thing. Like the greater the reliability of the provoke, the greater the reliability that you'll hit the score that you need. I should also look at this Knock the Paralyzer, because I don't know if he has anything that would add. No. Longsword Torx is a guy that has an AoE provoke, I believe. Is it 100%? Gotcha. Knocked is no good for Hydra. Okay. All right. Who am I missing? 4-star soul? You're saying because Tagore has a 4-star soul, he should be the call. That's fair. That's a factor. I don't necessarily always look for the souls in teams like this, because it's like, if the champion fits the composition, the souls are a bonus. The souls don't make the composition, right? So yes, you want the souls. And if you happen to build out this champion and you have a 4-star soul in him, like it could be a tiebreaker. Like if you have 2 really good champions for a role, but one has a more advanced soul, you would take that champion. I don't know that I would just say, yeah, straight up 4-star soul, he's the one. But I do think he fits. So you may as well, you know, work in that direction. Tag Force. So you need a Hex, Provoker, Healer. Too bad you don't have Archer, because that is one champ that can put in more. Yeah, so Archer gives you a Hex, gives you a Provoke. It's actually a 2-turn Provoke. Gives you Sustain. That's why Archer is so good. Colred, did you see I cleared Doom Tower hard 120? All rotations done. I did not, Chuck, but congrats. That's fantastic. That's another great milestone for any account. Anytime you clear the 3rd rotation of a thing, like the 3rd rotation of Doom Tower normal, the 3rd rotation of Doom Tower hard, the 3rd rotation of Centranos, like if you cleared, you know, all 3 of them, it's a huge moment for your account, because now you know you are in farm mode, right? Like maybe not easy farm mode, Like, I think of it from like the MMO perspective. Remember, you would run dungeons or raids until you could get to a point where you were completing them really easily and quickly, and then you could put them on farm. And that just meant every week you could go in there and get your loot. And so I do think that it's a big moment when you know you can clear all 3 Doom Towers, because now you can get all those rewards every week. Might still take you some time and effort, but you know you can get them. And that's huge. Okay, so Joshua, that's sort of my coaching shtick. I don't know what you want to call it. That's my lesson for today here on Hydra. I think, based on the team that you have, you already understand some of the mechanics and the basics of what it's going to take to put together a good team. So it's just really a matter of time, experience, experimentation, but also to a certain extent, making a call and investing in a champion. If you decide Ugo's the way to go, nobody's going to say no. Ugo's great. Ugo's absolutely fantastic at Hydra. So, okay. But now you start to think, if I go with Ugo, that means I have a bit of a double coverage on my Wukong. Do I want to swap out for a different damage dealer? Maybe I want to bring in Newt then instead of Wukong. So building Ugo might free up that spot and allow me to get Newt into the team, which could potentially be better. Maybe not. Maybe still having, the buff strip is important. And so it's not just the block debuffs buff. Or I'm sorry, the block buffs debuff. It may be that the buff strip is also really important, or just having a backup, having 2 of the champions that do that job. There are also different affinities. I believe Ugo's magic affinity, correct? She's magic affinity. Yeah, she's magic affinity. So, you could make sure you always have, somebody who's going to be at least neutral affinity, if not strong affinity. It's good to build some redundancy into your Hydra teams if you can fit it. That's why champions who do double or triple duty especially are highly valuable. When you think about why Archer is so good in Hydra, it's not because any one of her skills is good, right? It's because she does so many jobs, and that alleviates pressure on the other spots in your composition to carry those jobs. So if she gets the Hex done, then you don't need another Hex champion. If she gets the Provoke done, then you may not need another Provoke champion. Or the other Provoke champion can kind of be less reliable because she is so reliable. And that allows you to just be more flexible in your team composition. That's really important. Yeah, no worries, Joshua. It's not your fault at all. I should have repeated myself. While we have you here, is there anything else you'd like me to look at on the team? On the account, other than Hydra? How are you doing in Clan Boss? How are you doing in Arena? Do you have a Doom Tower boss that you're struggling with? You're pulling an 80 million 2 key on Ultra Nightmare. That looks fantastic. It's a Helicath team with that's a really good team. That's very similar to my team. That's actually very similar to my team. If you look at my team, let's see. My team is actually, my team will be near the bottom because I don't have my Spirit Affinity friendly team anymore. So here, this is my team, and this is not Spirit Affinity friendly. So you can see, Helicath with Renegade for the reset. You've got Seeker to get to speed, right? You had a Seeker. So it's, those 3 champions are the core of it. And so that gives you the speed tune. And then in this particular case, what happens is I've got Ninja as my damage dealer. And then I've got, Cardiel as that ally attack, cleanser, block debuffs champion. And heal. And you don't need heal in this composition because it's unkillable, but got to mention all Cardiel's skills, right? He's that good. You just got to say stuff about him. He's good. He does these things. So yeah. So not a dissimilar team composition. I do think obviously Ninja's stronger than Annex, but Annex is good. It's not like you have a weak damage dealer here. He's very good. And as an epic, he's one of the better epics. Maybe not top 3, but probably top 6 or 7. He's definitely up there. I think the thing about your composition right here that you will struggle with moving forward is either that you only have one primary damage dealer or that one primary damage dealer is not totally god tier. So for instance, if you brought in Newt with the exact same team, you might get more damage. I don't know if the speed tune works for Newt. Like you might need to run Newt at different speed for other content, but you could try Newt in this team. This could potentially add some value. You get the decrease, the like defense destruction, which means everybody's going to hit hard. The other thing is make sure, absolutely sure, that Helicath has enough accuracy to land his A1 weaken. That's incredibly important here. You need that weaken down. And then, you know, there are other things that you can do to push this damage. If you need to, you can get Seeker and or Doom Priest into a toxic set. Even Renegade could do that. And then Renegade to 60, getting those masteries to get the War Master procs. That'll help a little bit as well. So there's still some growth potential here for this team, but it's a pretty good team. Good tune. You got both difficulties of Doom Tower done. Cool. You're cruising, man. You're doing fantastic. Let's take a quick look at Arena. Gold 5. What's your team look like? Gotcha. Good team. Shouldn't have any trouble staying there. Yeah, I think let's take a look at the speed on Annex here. What's the speed on Annex? All right, 243, which is actually a great speed to run Newt at. That would be about the speed that I would choose to run him at if you didn't have to run him faster for a particular speed tune. Now he's running at 203, so you could potentially, you know, swap him into this gear. Obviously, it's a broken set here with the shield and chest piece. You want to make sure you have enough accuracy for Newt as well. But remember, once you start climbing Fire Knight higher and higher, you need more speed, right? So you're going to want Newt faster, preferably a minimum of 220. You can get away with I think you can get away with 216 or something, or 215, depending on how much turn meter fill you have and the speed aura when you're pushing up Fire Knight. But once you get to stage 10 of hard mode Fire Knight, I think the speed of the boss is 250. It's either 250 or 255, I think. So you really need to get your speeds up there. So I think you need about, there's sort of like some range there in between 210 and 220 where you need to hit so that a 30% turn meter fill will actually get you over the top on that on that Fire Knight. So it's just easier to run him faster in general, and you have Annex fast. And then remember that Newt, the great thing about Newt isn't just that he hits really hard on his A2, which he does. He hits incredibly hard, but each hit decreases the target's defense by 3%. This makes everybody on the team do more damage. So you want to come around to this skill as quickly as possible. You already have a Renegade in your team for Helicath. So potentially you might be able to get around to this skill a lot and get this decreased defense stack onto the boss really quickly. And that's going to allow everybody to do more damage. And it's going to allow him to do more damage. And if you're getting 50 turns after, so let's say it takes you 20 turns. Might take you 20 turns, might take you a little bit, 25 turns. Let's call it 25 turns. Let's say it takes 25 turns to get the boss's defense down the 30%. Then you've got 25 turns with that defense already down. So, and obviously, it doesn't just go from full defense to negative 30. You're whittling it down all the time, slightly improving your damage every single cycle. So I would think that this would be a step up from Annex. I don't know that it would go from a 2 key to 1 key without some additional tweaking or better gear. But that would be the next evolution, I think. Yeah, I don't know that Newt needs to be above 250. I actually run mine slow. Not because I want to, just because of the gear I have. I don't know his exact speed because I've moved him around so many times. I had him in Relentless for a while, and then I moved him over to Savage, and then I moved him up in speed because I wanted to speed tune him for Iron Twins. But I would say as long as you can get to 220, you know, as a minimum base speed, you're probably fine. You put a speed aura in there of 19%. That's going to get him, you know, another 19 speed or so, right? He's about 100 speed. Yeah, so you're going to get another 19 speed there. That's going to push it from 220 to 239. And then if you have any turn meter fill at all, you're going to get over that 250 mark relatively easily. So I would say, you know, 220 is a good mark to shoot for. If you could get him a little faster than that, up to 240 would be great. Maybe even 245. But you don't need to run him faster than the boss. You just need to make sure he's faster than the Fire Knight Stage 10 boss with the speed aura, with the increase turn meter boost. Yeah. Okay. All right, so Joshua, I'm sorry to not give you a full Hydra takeover today, but we're going to call that there. And, you know, since you're my clanmate, feel free to shoot me a message anytime and update a question, roster, you know, shot if you want to ask my advice. I'm always happy to help. Yeah, and go Red Warden. Although that name may change in the future. We just had a vote on whether or not we wanted to change the names, and it was close, but I think it was leaning towards the idea that we should at least vote for a new name, so we may have to change that. All right. So, Son, why don't we reset the wheel of takeover? Thank you to Joshua. You can have your account back. And let's get the next one fired up. And again, remember, I'm not doing Hydra takeovers today, and I am not doing gear cleanses today, although I'm happy to coach in either case. So let me know. We'll give it a couple of minutes for people to go and react to the new wheel. Remember to have your login information ready, your email address, and your password. And then as soon as you get your win, go ahead and shoot me a DM with that information. I can get the login process started, and then you can tell me what kind of takeover you're looking for.
And just as a quick note for you, Cole, because I didn't want to interrupt while you're doing the takeover.
What's up?
Something's happened with your Discord to where now all of your Discord notifications are coming through. So you might either just want to silence that or just turn on streamer mode. Yeah.
Oh, the Discord beep is coming through.
Yeah. So when I'm sitting here with the stream audio on, I'm like, why am I getting messaged? No, it was just coming through the stream.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, Bryce kept checking his Discord. I was about to say, for everybody who's done a couple double checks, you know. An hour of random beeps, 100 people go to check. Oh, who messaged me?
Hang on. All right. Yeah, let me see if I can turn that back on. I did turn off the streamer mode because I can't see who the winner is when I'm in streamer mode. There it is. All right. All right. So whoever votes the no geo emoji in Discord is an enemy. Is it okay if a level 50 account tries for the wheel? Absolutely, Jeff. It doesn't bother me at all. Like, I'm happy to help anybody at any level. You could be level 30. I don't care. You pulled Bushi. Is he any good? Not really. There are a couple of uses for him. He's not total trash, but he's really not. He's not one of those champions you get excited about. Sorry to say. How can you send me your account? Well, you have to win first. So the first thing you need to do is go to the Discord and react to the Wheel of Takeover. So when you join our Discord community, the link will be in the description of this video. You just look on the left side, all the different channels. About 2/3 of the way down, there's a coaching corner. You're going to join the Wheel of Takeover, and then you're going to go ahead and react to one of the messages. That is going to enter your name onto the wheel. When we spin the wheel, if you win the takeover, then you can DM me your account information in Discord. So send me a direct message in Discord with your email and your password, and then I'll get logged in and we'll start doing the takeover. Hi, I'm level 2. I just got past this opening scene where my archer gets swallowed by a dragon. Can you help me? Sorry, no, there's no help for that. The archer gets swallowed and is gone forever. Except she's not if you pick her. If you pick her, she comes back right away. If you have an increased speed from Elva, should you turn Rathalos' A3 off? You should not turn Rathalos' A3 off. No. No, Josh. It is a very hard-hitting skill. It gives you not just an increased speed buff, but it also gives you increased crit damage, I believe. It's an AoE. It's a massive AoE. So, yeah, you want that in Hydra. So if you're going to use Rathalos in Hydra, keep his A3 on. Now, if you're speed-tuned, if you're like perfectly speed-tuned or something, which is kind of rare for Hydra, sometimes you can find those speed-tunes. But if you are speed-tuned, then yeah, then maybe if you have to turn Rathalos' A3 off for that, you just live with the fact that you're going to hit a little bit less hard. How do you beat Baumel level 183? Lady Annabelle? I guess. You need 100,000 HP on a Lady Annabelle in Regen and Immortal. And then you're probably fine. All right, let's go ahead and spin this thing. Let's do it up. It's already almost 5 o'clock. And I have not yet played my accounts today.
All right, let's do it.
Wheel of Names is thinking. Don't think too hard. I got to remove my past winners' accounts so I can make space for my new winners' account. There we go. See, this is what I can't see who the winner is now because I'm in streamer mode.
Don't worry, because we've got our first winner. Second winner.
I knew that was coming. who won this time around?
Our first and only winner of this particular spin of this wheel.
Who is it?
Maleferous.
Maleferous. Congratulations.
It is not just Maleferous, it is Lord Maleferous.
Now Shock is calling it Geomancer cheese. Shock, everything to you is cheese. Every strategy that's a strategy is cheese. I think Shock he's a fan of cheese.
He's Dutch, man. All he sees is cheese.
Cheese and chocolate.
Cheese and tulips.
All right. Let me get some work done here. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, that's right, Angelica. The Dutch love their cheese, don't they? I think everybody loves cheese, though. You could say that about almost anybody. Who doesn't love cheese? What culture thinks cheese is gross? Where do you DM me if you are in Discord and you won the spin? So if you're Lord Maleferous, then you can just send me a DM in Discord. You can literally go to my Discord server and look on the right-hand side. There will be a list of the players who are active in the server. I'm at the top of the list because Son and I are the owners, so we are the two at the top of the list. Just click on my name and send me a message. Except American cheese. Don't get me started. You were there, Ian Godwin. I know you heard the story. John Bibby, hey, Colred, have you tried an unbeatable team for Hydra? An uneatable team, not an unbeatable team, using Emic or Duodan or whatever. I have not. It's an interesting concept. I really like the idea of it. I have not had the time to experiment to that level with Hydra since I started my YouTube channel. So my hope is that when the Hell Hades free-to-play challenge ends, and it will end in like a month. I think it ends in just over a month. It's like 35 days or something. That things will die down enough in terms of my time in game that I'll be able to start to do some of those really cool things on my main account. I'm going to spend probably the next 3 or 4 months after this ends just focused on my main account. So I know we've been, we had a long noob versus pro run, which was really fun doing that with Sun starting his account off. And then we transitioned almost immediately. In fact, there was overlap with the new free-to-play challenge account with HH. And we are the free-to-play channel, and we love new players and that early game stuff. But there's more to the game, right? There's just more to the game. And we can continue, I think, to present early game and mid-game content, but also start to mix in some of that more advanced stuff that free-to-play players will get to if they do the things that we talk about on this channel. And that's the thing. It's like the game doesn't end when you get to mid-game. It doesn't stop being free-to-play. It continues to be free-to-play, but your options expand as you've gotten your Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss solution done, as you've started to collect, more fusions, and you're completing your faction crypts, and you've gotten Mithrala, and you've gotten Lydia. It's like, what's next? What about the hard mode, dungeons? What about getting up to clearing both, difficulties of Doom Tower? What about Centranos? There's more stuff. And there's cool stuff too, which I think could even benefit players more if I knew more about it and I could teach them about it. But I just haven't had that opportunity because we've been going like gangbusters for 7 months. So, unfortunately, as soon as things slow down a little bit, we're going to have a baby. So it's like, is it even going to be possible for me to say, oh, we're going to take it easy now and like slow things down? I don't know, right? It's still going to be crazy. Okay, we got our information. But my hope is to start to do some of that stuff. All right, Lord Maleferous. We're having that weird glitch again about the game. Like it doesn't recognize the game. It like the button disappears for some reason. I don't know what that's all about. Are you do you play on an iPhone? Mellifluous, are you an iPhone user? I wonder if that's the issue. All right, here we are. Let's get Lord Mellifluous in the voice channel if we can.
They are all set up for it. Oh, you did something to your audio. We can't hear you anymore.
Yeah, okay. I'm back. Did you hear me saying that we had a very late night last night? Did you hear me saying that?
No.
No.
No, but we did. We most certainly did.
So we had a very late night last night, and it was one of multiple late nights in a row trying to get the Raid Madness series set up and going. We wanted to get the HH video out today. And here's the thing. It was like any delay on any video pushed the entire series back another day because it's cumulative. Like you need one thing before the next thing can happen. And we had to get our business squared away with Common Ninja. So I don't know if anybody saw that in the video, but we do have it's not a sponsorship. It's not our first sponsorship, but we have an affiliation now. We have an affiliate agreement with Common Ninja. So that link is in the description of that video. And Common Ninja does these like little widget things and like tools that basically you can add to your website, which will improve the functionality of that website, give you additional options. It's especially helpful if you're not a big web developer, but you do have a website. Maybe you have an online store and you just need some tools to kind of customize it and do things that maybe like, especially if you have one of those services like where it's like build your own website kind of things. So like maybe those don't provide enough utility. And so we're actually using Common Ninja to build the bracket system and the prediction system that people will be using. And so we had to get that squared away. And as a result, I do things like mute my microphone and not realize because it's been crazy. But all right, let's look at Lord Mellifluous. We've got level 69 account. Let's look at the logins. All right, you are into that month, that very important month when you pick up Syll of the Drakes. So you still have a ways to go, right? 25 more days, but you are on your way towards probably. I mean, is she the best login champion in the game? Is she the most valuable login champion in the game? I don't know who else would. I mean, Vizix is close. It's either Vizix or Syll, right? I don't think any of the others. Even after you get past like this level, once you get past 270 days and you start to pick up the fragment champions, I don't think any of the fragment champions even come close. So, yeah, it's going to be fun when you get there. All right, Lord Mellifluous, go ahead and send me a DM and let me know what kind of takeover you are looking for today. He's still not in our voice channel here. Let's see. Let me send him a DM. All right, we'll see if Lord Maleferous gets back to us anytime soon. In the meantime, we'll take a look at the roster. Ooh, I saw Corvus jump out right away, and Pythion, two great champions that really can make for a very good account. Also, Trumbor down here, which is kind of an interesting champion. He's not bad. He's got a weaken on his A1 with a leech, so you're already thinking clan boss. He does remove a random debuff from all allies before attacking. Again, so he can cleanse the stun, or he can cleanse the slow. Plus, this is a hit, and you get extra damage for each debuff removed, so probably want to remove the slow, right? Because then you're removing 5 debuffs instead of just 1. Ally protection with increased defense, again, clan boss. And then whenever this champion is attacked, has a 20% chance of decreasing the duration of all debuffs on this champion, which doesn't really play in clan boss, but, you know, could be a clan boss ally protector. Definitely a good one with the weaken and the leech. And a little bit of a cleanse. So not a bad champion at all. We don't see him that often. We also have a really good ally protector over here who has an ally protection and an increased defense. Now, is Trumbor an AoE? No, Trumbor increases defense on himself, whereas Kira actually increases defense on everyone on the team. So maybe even a little bit more sturdy because of that, but you don't get the weaken. You do get a decreased attack, though, which is very nice. Got Lysandra down here. By the way, anybody who has Lysandra should very seriously consider building her within your next few champions because she is an arena goddess. She also has this 24% speed aura in all battles, which is incredibly powerful. She has tons of turn meter control. So she has this A3, which is increased speed, fills the turn meter of allies by 30%. That's the same as like Arbiter. Same as Seeker. Decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 30%. That's twice what Deacon Armstrong does. Right? Deacon does plus 15, minus 15. Where is he? He's right here. Deacon does plus 15, minus 15 extra turn. She does plus 30, minus 30, and an increased speed. He's crazy good. Crazy good. Plus that aura. So areas of struggle are Hydra and Clan Boss. Getting max damage, it takes 4 keys. Ultra Nightmare, Demon Lord, and Classic and Live Arena are tough. Okay. Well, let's take a look at your Clan Boss. I'm going to stay away from Hydra today. Let's take a look at your Demon Lord Clan Boss. So Ultra Nightmare here. Lord Maleferous. You're pulling down 16 million with a 1 key. Which is actually really a 5 key here. Yeah, it's really a 5 key. I think you need 18 million. I think you need 18 million to be a 4 key. So this might be a low key for you. It might be a bad affinity or something or whatever. But this is actually a 5 key. That's not awful, right? Like you're in the ballpark. You're getting closer. So let's take a look at this team. Let's take a look at this team. Now, this is a really interesting team. I actually kind of like the way you've constructed this team. Right? So, if we look at this team, where is it? Is it the top team? No, not the top. This team down here. Okay, so you have all these different options and you have the same core, like you're just rotating, you're iterating the same kind of champions, which is, that's why you would do that, right? Of course you would do that. You have these really good champions. You want to keep them in. You think you can build the team around them. You probably can. So this team is really interesting. Now, you have a defensive aura in all battles. I think it's 25% from Corvus. I think it's 25%, not 30%. Is it 30%? Might be 30%. You have Pythion, who provides heals and a cleanse. You have a revive, but you don't really want to use the revive, right? That's not something that you're like banking on. So you're trying to get the heals, and you have the cleanse, and then you have the block debuffs buff. So potentially this is your solution for the stun and the solution for the slow, making you full affinity friendly. Now you have a decreased defense and decreased attack, which is great. By the way, Corvus has a decreased attack, but this is a decreased attack from a different affinity. And also, this is 100%, whereas Corvus is on his A1 and it's only a 50%. Oh, it's 60%, actually. Okay. You have Apothecary for the speed boost primarily. I assume he's also fully masteried. Maybe you have him in Phantom Touch, so you're trying to get extra damage there. The heals are useful. It's a backup heal to what Pythion is bringing, but primarily this is a speed boosting champion. And, you know, a little bit of extra damage. Now, Kira is your ally protector, which is a great champion. We already talked about Kira. She brings the increased defense. Ally protection and increased defense are really important because anytime you put up ally protection, your ally protector then gets hit a lot harder. And as a result, it's going to take a lot more damage and can potentially die. So what you want is you want a strengthen buff or an increased defense buff or a shield buff or all of those things when you have your ally protection buff up as well. You could also use like Guardian sets to kind of spread the damage around a little bit. You could do that and kind of protect your ally protector with an ally protect. Get kind of tricky, but that can be a way to add survivability. And then she also has a decreased attack on her A1. Okay, now, one other thing about Corvus is this passive. So he decreases the damage enemies under poison debuffs inflict 5% less damage per poison. Debuff stacks up to 25%. Now, he puts 4 poisons out at a time. Attacks all enemies 2 times. Each hit has a 100% chance of placing 2 poisons. So as long as he's not weak hitting, right? If he's hitting into force affinity, he might weak hit. You're going to get 4 poisons out. But he does, I believe, increase the... Yeah, so he increases the duration of the debuffs. So the question is, you know, is he going to reach that 5 poison limit for his damage mitigation? With enough speed, you know, cycles, he could potentially. Maybe he keeps stacking them up. You don't have another poisoner on the team, so you're not getting help from anybody else. So he has to do the job by himself. So in general, I think this is a pretty good concept. It's a pretty good concept. Let me ask you this. Is it speed tuned? Is it like tweaked and specifically speed tuned to max out the value of your ally protector and your cleanses and stuff like that? Or is it just 5 good champions thrown in to a concept, but you're kind of just running them however you're running them? Yeah, TJN. Corvus typically doesn't max out unless you had something like Relentless set on him, in which case you could. If you had him in Relentless, he could do the job all by himself. Or if you run him really fast or you have enough speed on your team, you could potentially max out with Corvus. But in general, I don't get the max out. And in addition, if you look at this, like you are getting a decreased defense and a decreased attack, and then you're getting the poison sensitivity. And then you have 7 spots left for poisons, right? So you do want to max out those 7 spots because if you're not bringing a weaken, which is okay if you're bringing poison sensitivity, by the way, it's okay to not bring a weaken. Weaken and poison sensitivity would be better to stack together. Decreased defense is actually not critical on this team, right? We would prefer to remove the decreased defense and add a weaken instead. Because we're not doing a lot of direct damage here, and that's where you get the value out of the decreased defense. So if you're really going all in on the poisons, you would prefer a poison sensitivity and a weaken, no decreased defense, and then the decreased attack, and then 7 poison spots, right? That would be the optimal scenario. You could always maybe, like, you could throw an HP burn on there from like a Geomancer or something, and then 6 poison spots. That would also be okay. It doesn't feel like this team is going to reach that. It doesn't have a weaken. So there are some places we have some wiggle room, but I'm not hearing back from Lord. Oh, now Lord's typing. So yeah, so the question just is this team speed tuned? It doesn't look like they are, but I don't know every speed tune. So not speed tuned. Kira is a 3-turn cooldown, whereas Trumbor is a 4-turn cooldown. That's okay. 4-turn cooldowns aren't like the worst thing, right? You just need to run champions in a 4-3. Not speed tuned. You have taken apothecary. Okay. So if I'm looking at, all these iterations of teams, I know that Stag Knight's really good, and sometimes it's hard to take him out of teams because he's done so much work to get you where you are. But you have 3 decrease attack champions, and you have a composition where decreased defense is not hugely valuable. So let's start. Is there a team here I can break apart, maybe? I mean, you've got all your spots filled. Is there a team I can just kind of delete and start over with? Can I do it to this one? Because you have all of these iterations. I don't know, how old some of them are and whether or not some of them are just placeholders. Top team. This team, number 1 team? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and break this team off here. So let's go back to the core trio here. Your core trio is Corvus, Kira, and Pythion. Now, the reason I'm calling this the core trio is because these all synergize really well, and they give you everything you need for a speed tune that makes a lot of sense. You have a defensive aura with an ally protection champion who gives increased defense. That's going to be really powerful. You've got a buff extender in Corvus, and you have an ally protector who has a 2-turn ally protect on a 3-turn cooldown. You can have 100% uptime if you've speed tuned it. You have a block debuffs champion with a buff extender. Again, you should be full affinity friendly here. So this is your core. Now, if we're starting to think about, like what's next, does raw speed help us? Not really. What we want is speed tuning. So we could definitely bring somebody in here to make the team go faster. If we could run everybody at 4-3, let's say, the ally protection, you don't want to outrun the ally protection. You could run it 4-3. You could run it 4-3 depending on where the extra turn is. So this might be a team where like you can run 2 or 3 champions at 4-3 and then the rest at 1-1. So let's do this really quickly. I'm going to throw this team into the calculator, the clan boss calculator, and we're just going to check it out. Okay. So let's pull in the stats here. So we had Corvus. I can do this. My fingers still work. We had Corvus, Kira, Pythion. And then I think we had Apothecary and Stag Knight, right? So Apothecary and Stag Knight. Let's check the speeds on this group. So I'm actually going to go into the AI that you programmed and like pull the priorities and stuff as well. So we get in, because it looks like you've only changed a couple of things. In fact, the only one we really care about is Corvus. So you open with the A3 and then prioritize it. So Corvus opens with the A3 and then prioritize it, which is exactly what it normally is. Okay. And so now we just have to find the speeds. Okay, so speed is 199. By the way, do you have any arena or area bonuses for speed? double check. You don't have any area bonuses at all. Okay. All right, so the speed is 199 for Corvus. I'm not going to worry about the sets too much. I mean, I could, but I should also look at the masteries. I should. Darn it. All right, let's go to the... I was hoping to do this in the AI, but now the AI doesn't matter. I can go to the... All right. You have a single set of righteous and masteries. Okay. All right, and then let's look at Kira. Kira is, where is she? He does have Lore of Steel. 210. Speed. 210. Speed times 1. Lore of Steel. Pythion. So if you haven't done the clan boss calculator before, it's a little bit frustrating sometimes to kind of get it set up. You got to do a lot of transferring of kind of stats and got to make sure that you don't miss any of these things because they're really important. We've got 209 speed here. We've got another righteous set. 209 righteous. Lore of Steel. Also Cycle of Magic here, which would potentially break a speed tune, even because he's your block debuffs champion. So Cycle of Magic may need to come off of him if you're going to speed tune him into a clan boss team. But okay, so 210, no, 209. 209, righteous, Lore of Steel. Let me kind of get out of here so you can see that column a little more easily. Okay. Now we're up to Apothecary. Apothecary. He does have the Lore of Steel. And he's got no sets. He's running at 240. 240 Lore of Steel. But the Lore of Steel doesn't matter if he doesn't have a set. So put him at 240. And then let's look at Stagnite. Stagnite is 222 with speed and righteous and Lore of Steel. 222 speed and righteous. Lore of Steel. Okay, and your skills are in the way they are in the AI. So you'll notice, like, this is a wandering speed tune. What it means is it's not really a speed tune. It's just every round is different. You might get a repeat of like a turn, like here, turn 16 and turn 19 look the same. But you'll notice that the turns on either side don't look the same. And then, you know, you get one more and then all of a sudden it breaks. And yep, okay, now, it's, you know, maybe this is wandering around. So this stack becomes this stack. So 22 becomes 24, becomes 26. You know, and then it disappears and it breaks and it turns into something else that wanders around for a little while. So I call this a wandering speed tune. I don't know. It's a non-speed tune. And as a result, like, you're not getting the optimal value out of this, right? What we would like to see. Let me do another speed calculator. What we could get out of a speed tune like this would be, let's say we start with Corvus. We've got Kira. Pythion. Okay, that didn't work at all. Why didn't that not work? Corvus. Okay. Now, forget about the, well, it doesn't really matter. But let's say we did, so this is just a 1-to-1 speed tune. I've got 3 champions running faster than the boss and 2 slower. That's why this very first turn above my head only has 3 boxes in it, right? 3 champions are running faster than the boss, so they go first, then the boss goes. But then after that point, all 5 champions are going at a 1-to-1, right? So you can run slower than the boss up to 20 speed, basically, generally. And you can run faster than the boss up to about 20 speed. It's not exactly 20 every time. And you're still going to go at a 1-to-1. Okay. Now, if we look at the speed tune that you've got here, and we look at any particular cycle, you're getting a lot more turns, which means you're getting a lot more hits, right? So there is an advantage to that. So I'm not saying we want to slow all the way down. That's not really the goal. What we would like to do is try to get a decent number of hits in at a decent speed, but we want to prioritize maximizing the buffs that you're using and the debuffs that you're using in order to create a speed tune that keeps you alive for as long as possible. The benefit of your particular clan boss team is all of these defensive kind of super champs, right? I mean, Corvus, absolutely fantastic. He's got the aura. He's a defensive-based champion, so you can build him nice and tanky. And then he's got that passive that can reduce the incoming damage by 25%. That's an additional strengthen. That's like having a strengthen on your team without needing to bring the buff, right? And if you bring the buff, now you've got 2 strengthens on your team. So you want to make sure that if you're building a team like this, you are speed tuning to get as much value out of this team as possible. Now, Kira is going to bring the ally protection. We want that up 100% of the time. We want the increased defense up 100% of the time if we can get it. We just need Pythion to hit the right spots so we are covered for the stun and the slow, and provides a bit of healing. Because this is a killable comp, we're going to want healing. We're going to want decent healing. It doesn't have to be over the top. You don't have to have massive healing, because what's going to happen is eventually you're going to get to the point where you're probably, somebody's going to get one shot. And once they're off the board, then it's like, all right, then the speed tune breaks and it doesn't really matter after that point. So you just need to push back that point as far as possible. Pythion's going to help you there. Now, Apothecary would help you there, but we don't necessarily need his speed. So what we could do is layer in another layer of defense with shields or strengthen. Or maybe we bring in another poisoner to up the damage levels and make sure that Corvus's passive is always maxed out, because he's not likely to do that on his own. There's another thing that you could do, which is you could bring that in a cooldown reduction champion. That could be really good, right? Like a Painkeeper. That might allow you to get around to skills faster, like Corvus's poison. Now he's going to get more poisons out. He's going to get that poison sensitivity out. And he's going to use that more often, maybe maxing out the debuff bar. Now, I don't know that this is a better tune than the one you've got. Like the 1-to-1 probably isn't. Like you're probably hitting harder untuned than tuned in this particular case. But that's not my point. My point is that this is the goal that we want to work towards. So let's go look at the roster again and think about, like, who can we put into these 2 spots to fill those roles, to like complement these champions. And then we can think about getting into some 4-3 speed tunes. Probably not a 2-to-1. Probably not a 2-to-1 with this kind of setup. Probably 4-3 champions and 1-1 champion. And if we go to this, right, the calculator, we can always go to speed tunes, and you just go to 4-3 ratio, and you're going to get some 4-3 options here. Now, one to check is this 3-4 champions alternate. This is one that you can check. And this is going to give you a composition that allows you to run 3 champions at 4-3. So now if you look at it, right, once it tunes, every column is the same all the way down. Like it takes a little while to tune. It looks like it tunes here on turn 8, right? Turn 8 is now repeated. Turn 9 is going to be repeated. Turn 10 is going to be repeated. So it tunes at turn 8, but then everything is the same. Now, the thing that you have about when you have 3 4-3 champions, you get 1 extra turn per column. So that's going to be, instead of 15 actions per cycle, you get 18 actions per cycle. That means 3 additional actions for damage or debuffs or buffs or what have you. So this is going to be a slightly faster speed tune, right? But you can look at the speeds here. You're running 3 champions over the clan boss speed at 225, 225, and 228, and you're running 2 slower at 176 and 172. So theoretically, it's sort of the same type of tune as the this like fake speed tune that I just started to throw together. I hadn't tuned it yet to get 3 champions up to 4-3, but we run 3 faster and 2 slower, kind of spreads out the speeds in a way that allows for us to push back the clan boss speed without sacrificing like the need to get really, really fast. Like we don't have to sacrifice our stats to speed in order to make the speed tune work. So again, this could be a tune that we look for. There are other 4-3 tunes. Some of them use 2 champions. Some of them use 3 champions. So this is 3-4-3 champs alternate, which means there's probably a 3-4-3 champs, and it's going to be different speeds. The speeds might be different, but the other thing that you have to look for is the way that the turns roll out, what the pattern looks like. So here is this team, which is 3-4-3 champion. So it doesn't just matter what speed you're running it, but where the speed kind of like procs. So this is one tune. And you saw before how what we were doing was we were doing 6, 6, and 6, right? We were doing 6 actions in each column with the alternate. That's this one. 6 actions, 6 actions, 6 actions. There are 3 champions that take 4 turns in the 3-turn cycle. So green goes 4 times for every row. Yellow goes 4 times for every row. Blue goes 4 times for every row, but only 1 repeat happens in any given column. So 6 actions, 6 actions, 6 actions. But in this particular case, we've got 7, 6, 5. It's a different speed tune. It's still 3 champions going 4-3. So it's still 18 actions, right? It's 7 plus 6 is 13 plus 5 is 18. Still 18 actions. But the distribution allows for different usages of skills. For instance, if this green player here, this green champion, were a 2-turn block damage champion like Helicath, that would actually cover the second column, and it would also cover the third column because nobody is going twice in the third column. Whereas if you were running the other one, this one, you couldn't do that. Because if the orange bar was a 2-turn block debuff or block damage buff, the blue champion in the third column would go twice, and that buff would fall off that champion. So this can't be an unkillable speed tune, whereas this can potentially be an unkillable speed tune, right? And so that's why it matters where the turns are falling. It's not just, oh, we're getting 18 actions. Where are you getting those 18 actions? How are they spread? Are people taking 2 turns in every column? Or is there one column where you just have 1 turn per champion? Because that can make a big difference for block damage buffs, for unkillable buffs, for block debuffs buffs, even for things like, in this case, when you have a killable comp, ally protection or increased defense. Okay. So let's go ahead and go back to, that's what I said we were going to do. We're going to go back to the, yeah. All right, so now we want to think about champions that could really work well with this team composition. Now, right away, we see Skull Crusher. Skull Crusher is really interesting. He's a second ally protection champion. It's not awful to run 2 ally protectors because you can actually swap the ally protection back and forth based on the duration of the ally protection, and therefore no one ally protector takes all of the damage all of the time. Now, the other nice thing about Skull Crusher is he gives you a counterattack, and he's unkillable. Now, what you typically do with this is by putting up ally protection on everybody but Skull Crusher, you make Skullcrusher the stun target. Because the boss generally avoids hitting champions with ally protection. So if 4 champions have ally protection and the ally protector doesn't, the ally protector is the one who takes the stun. Now, the problem with using Skullcrusher with 2 ally protectors is that potentially he could have ally protect on himself. The other ally protector could have ally protect on herself, Kira, and then you can't direct the stun. So maybe too tricky to speed tune. You'd have the option of taking Kira out, maybe, but then you'd lose the increased defense, so you'd have to bring in the increased defense from somebody else. Might be worth it, might be possible. But for right now, not loving it. Now, we do have a Kemptum, who I like. I like the idea of a Kemptum here. You do have a speed aura if you need to get more speed. I don't think you do. You'd probably stick with the defensive aura. You have a lot of poisons here, right? Maybe the downside is that he brings a hex debuff and you don't want the hex debuff to fill up the debuff bar. We would like the poisons. He's also a poison activator, which could actually, like if you are filling up the debuff bar, could cycle through the poisons faster. I kind of like that idea. But then potentially you might clear the debuff bar of poisons, which would remove Corvus's passive. We need that passive there. We've got Trunda, who provides really good damage. She hits really hard. That's basically all she does. We've got another really good poisoner, Frozen Banshee, who has her own poison sensitivity and a lot of poisons. This could fill up the debuff bar really quickly. She could potentially be good. The downside maybe is that she's the same affinity as Corvus. And so if one of them is weak hitting, the other one will weak hit, and then you'll just do really poorly into Force Affinity. We did talk about Painkeeper. You do have one booked out. She's on her way to 6 stars. Not masteried. That could be nice. That could be really nice. Especially in a slow speed tune. Could be good. But you're going to want at least one more damage dealer, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a weakened champion. I'm looking at Annex and Skrank. There's Whisper. I actually don't know Pan that well. I don't think he's... Yeah, okay. Let me also look at increase. Let me look at increased defense champions as well. And then let me look at strength and champion. I don't think we can speed tune White Queen, because she has a chance of decreasing the cooldown of random skills, random allies' skills. So that'll just bounce around. So I don't think we can use her. I actually really like the idea of Morag Bronzelock. I think this could be an absolute awesome champion, because she has an ally attack with a strengthen on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Again, we've got that buff extender. We've got Corvus who could extend this buff, right? And so this could potentially be up for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. The ally attack is one way to get a slow speed tune to get more damage, because every ally attack brings 2 additional allies, meaning more A1s, more chances of proccing your War Master procs. So this feels like a really good way to get extra damage into the team. We talked about the counterattack of Skullcrusher. That would have been another way, right? Counterattacks and ally attacks Like we have 18 actions, but we could potentially, instead of 18 actions, get 20 attacks, like or 20 actions, because we get 2 additional attacks from the ally attack. So instead of 18 actions, we have 20. Without going any faster. So that's nice. I like that idea. She also counterattacks while under a strengthen buff placed by this champion. So now we go from 18 to 20 with her ally attack. Plus, she's going to be attacked twice in the AoEs. So she's going to counterattack on both of those if we have 100% uptime. So now we're up to 22 actions, right? Now we've added 4 attacks by adding Morag Bronzelock. Plus, we've gotten Strengthened, which synergizes really well with this team composition and the slow speed tune, right? This is going to make Corvus tankier. It's going to make your ally protector, Kira, tankier. It's going to allow Pythion to keep everybody maxed out and healed up really well. And she's going to bring extra damage. Plus, you've got A1s that bring decrease attack. At least on Corvus, his A1 brings a decrease attack. Right? So you got more chances to land the decrease attack. Pythion's A1 brings heals. What does Kira's A1 bring? Decrease attack. And Kira and Corvus are different affinities. So that ally attack won't always bring the same champions. It only bring 2 of the other 4 champions. But you've got 2 chances to bring decrease attack in different affinities. You've got a chance to bring, additional heals. Now we're starting to think about, okay, can we get one more champion in there who's got a nice A1 that synergizes really well? Preferably somebody who's tanky, right? We don't need a decrease attack. We still haven't brought a weaken, right? We still haven't brought in a weaken yet. A leech might be nice. I'm actually thinking about Trumbor. It's like, could we get that second ally protector in there and really ramp this up? Like really go super heavy ally protector. I kind of like the idea. You do have the brimstone for the extra damage. So that would be one way to go. That's one thought. You could definitely go this way. Get Trumbor in there. Now you've got the weaken. Now, this is only a 40% chance of a weaken and only a 40% chance of a leech. But remember, you've got the ally attacker. So you're actually going to get more chances to get this out here. What I would also do is try to find revenge accessories. If you haven't bought any revenge accessories, which it looks like maybe you haven't, right? Get in here to the clan shop and start buying revenge accessories. This is, maybe you're working on your legendary champions, but these can be incredibly powerful, especially in a clan boss team like we're looking at, where those A1s, ally attacks, counterattack, we want all of those attacks coming back out. So you could really go double ally protector with an increased defense for the team, with a strengthen for the team, with a healer, and with that defensive aura. It's going to be very survivable. The question is the damage per turn going to be high enough? And I don't know the answer to that question. You have to try it out. You would have to attempt it. And it looks like you've iterated so much on Clan Boss already that it feels like it would be worth it. Honestly, it feels like you could just do it. And you already have everybody except Morag built. And I don't think you're going to regret building Morag. Morag is usable in a lot of places. You can use her in Arena. You can use her in Doom Tower. She's really good in a lot of boss fights. She's an extremely tanky damage dealer who brings extra tankiness to a team. She doesn't speed your runs up, but she's going to allow you to push those hard mode dungeons. She's going to allow you to put she's solid. She's very solid. She's in the Raid Madness bracket. I think she's an 8 or 9 seed. And that feels roughly right for her. She's probably somewhere between rank 35 and rank 50 in terms of the best epics in the game. So definitely a worthwhile 6-star, especially if you have a particular reason to build her. Any epic, any champion who's in that range does not need to be built. You could never build a Morag. You're fine. You're not missing out on anything, right? You have to have a reason to build her. This is not the same as like an allure. You don't need a reason to build an allure because there's reasons everywhere. Like you don't need a specific reason, right? You're not trying to, I'm not trying to solve this problem. You just build an allure knowing that you'll start finding places to plug her in. Same thing with like Stag Knight. Like you didn't need to know what you were going to do with Stag Knight. You just knew he was so good that you may as well build him. Morag isn't like that. And most epics aren't like that, right? You typically have to build for a specific reason. You don't just build High Katoon because she's good. You build High Katoon because you need that speed aura. You want that turn meter fill. You want the slow on the A1. You want the AoE decreased turn meter. You want that whole kit because that is valuable and you don't have it in a lot of places. You know, Morag is an unusual champion. You don't have her skill set in a lot of places, but it's not a critical one. But maybe it is if you're building this clan boss speed tune. So you could do that. You could build that second ally protector. Or let's see if there's something else. What else would help us? What else would help us? Maybe somebody with a poison on an A1? Maybe somebody with a poison on an A1. We still don't have a weaken. So we could also use a weaken on an A1. And so that's really just Arbiter. So that's not going to happen. So it's either Trumbor or, we were talking about Annex. That was the other champion that we were looking at. Now, Annex actually has a decreased defense on his A1, so that means you're going to lose one spot for a poison. So again, not bad because everybody will do more damage directly, but you do lose that poison spot, which means you might fall below the 5 poison threshold. The thing about him is he also brings poisons. Decrease accuracy we don't want. Weaken we do. I think he's bringing too many debuffs. We might not actually want him to bring all those debuffs. I think the extra turn isn't going to work with this speed tune, which brings us to Skrank and Suzerain. I don't know that Suzerain brings a lot. Skrank brings a lot. Hits very hard. Is void affinity, so you don't have to worry about the weaken not landing, right? It's not going to weak hit. Has his own sustain. He's going to be the squishiest champion in the squad. Has his own sustain. Has an increased attack for himself. Has a passive, which is going to boost his damage, and he actually brings an HP burn, which does take up a spot on the debuff bar. He also fills his turn meter by 50% if at least one enemy is hit with a critical hit, so you'd have to adjust that in the calculator. I think this is it. I think this is what we do. Okay, so let's go back to the speed tune. All right. So now let's say, where is our team? This is our team. Okay. There was another one we were looking at. Here, this is the one. Okay. So now let's say we get Trumbor in there. And then let's say we put Morag. Okay. Now we've got to decide, can we use some 4-3 speed tunes? And which champions do we need to run at 3? And which champions do we need to run at 4? So we're looking at this one, right? What's the value here? Well, you can run an ally protector at the bottom of column 1. That would cover everybody for column 1. You run the second ally protector at the bottom of column 2. That covers everybody for column 2 and for the stun. So the stun will be covered by an ally protect, right? Now, in terms of increased defense, you know, like you want to get the 100% uptime on increased defense. the only way to really do that would be to have... I don't know if you can. I don't think you can. Even positionally, I don't think you can. Like if it's the blue spot and then you extend 1, 2, 3, everybody's covered for 3. So that means it's still going to fall off on the green champion here, which is the other ally protector, which is okay. Chumbor brings his own increased defense. That might work. That might work really well. That might work great. Might work great. Right? So this speed tune was probably going to be the better one, the 765 rather than the 666. Right? So let's go ahead and look at this speed tune in terms of our champions now. But let's get rid of this other speed tune. Let's close down these other windows because I'm getting confused. All right, so these are our champions, but this is our speed tune. Okay, so we want to match this speed tune over here. So the first thing we want to say is, all right, we need Jareg, the blue bar. That needs to be our ally protector with increased defense for everybody. So that is Kira. So Kira needs to run at 239. By the way, it doesn't matter what spot they're in. That doesn't matter. We're going to have Corvus in the lead spot because of his aura. Okay, so don't think that like the 239 doesn't need to be the first champion. It could be any of the champions. As long as all of the speeds are right, you're just moving around who is like what color. That's all you're doing. So here what we're going to do is we're going to make Kira 239. See if we can get her up to 239. Okay. Now we're going to want the other ally protector to be the green champion. That's going to be Trumbor. By the way, I think Trumbor needs to be in the third spot. I'm not 100% sure about that. Ally protectors are usually in front of the team that they're protecting. Now Corvus has to be the lead, so that's a little bit different. But I think you're going to want Trumbor here in the third spot. But so I still haven't 100% figured out exactly how that works. So the green, so 223. Okay. Now we have our two ally protectors. Now we need to worry about the block debuff stuff, right? So what we probably want to do is extend everything in the second column. So probably if we can do this, we want either Corvus or Morag to be the other 4-3 champion, right? Preferably Corvus. We want Corvus to be the other 4-3 champion, I think. It's going to be a little bit weird. The reason we want him to be the 4-3 champion is because we want him to come around and do his poisons more often. You want your damage dealer to be the 4-3 champion. Now, Morag is also a damage dealer, so potentially she could work, and she could come around to her ally attack more often. But remember that you have the buff extensions and the debuff extensions, and so that matters as well. It's a little bit tricky. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to unfold, but that's just something to consider. So the one champion that we don't care about going fast is the last champion, who in this case is Pythion. We don't care about Pythion going 4 times. His cleanse, I think, is on a 3-turn cooldown anyway, right? So as long as his cleanse is on a 3-turn cooldown, which it is, then I think we're good. Okay. So let's go ahead and see which 3-turn champion we want Pythion to be. So once this is this speed tune? Oh, this is the wrong speed tune. This is the speed tune. Okay. So which 3-turn champion we want to be? So it's purple. and orange. Okay, purple and orange. If you go purple, you just get 2-turn coverage. The green champion will lose their block debuff buff and could potentially get stunned, breaking the tune. Now, who's green? Green is... Wait a second. It's a different... Green is the 223. So that's actually Trumbor. If you make them orange and then extend, then you're fine. And you have 2 options to extend. You can have yellow extend here in the second column. I'm sorry, in the third column. Or you could have purple extend in the second column. If we want Corvus to go an extra turn, we want Corvus to be yellow because that's a 4-3 champion, and extend in the third column. Which means we would want Morag to put up her strengthen in the second column. I don't know if that makes sense to everybody, but that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that all the buffs are extended. We want to extend the strengthen. We want to extend the block debuffs buff. We also want to extend the increased defense. The problem in here, I think... No, we don't lose... we would lose the increased defense on the second column. That's really annoying. All right, let's go ahead and get these speeds on these champions, and then we can move them around. So 239. Let's get to 171. 222 and 170. 222. Oh, this one. 239. 239, 223. 222. Okay, so this should be the same speed tune, right? This is a 765. Yeah, and it takes a little while to speed tune. You can see it's not quite speed tuned here. So we'll have to check it to see if we can actually make it full affinity friendly, because sometimes when it doesn't line up right at the top, you actually get hit by the slow in some ways, and you can't, like to Spirit Affinity, and you can't make it work. We'll have to figure that out. But it looks like it tunes right here at turn 6. So really you only have to handle 2 slows. It's not great, but it's not awful. We'll have to figure out if we can do that. Okay, so the way I would want to do this is I want Kira to use her Ally Protect here at the bottom of column 1. Now, Kira's Ally Protect is her A3, correct? So that's actually in the right spot already. That A3 at the bottom of column 1. So now if you look in column 2, everybody's got Ally Protect up the whole time, except Trumbor loses it at the bottom here. But he's going to put up his own, so we actually don't care. So Kira only needs to cover the AoE 1. This could work. I think this could work. So now Trumbor's Ally Protect is probably also his A3, right? Let's look. Yep. So, oh, right, but he's on a 4-turn cooldown, and she's on a 3-turn cooldown. I don't think that matters. I think we're... Yeah, hers is bouncing around. I forgot about that. Okay, so that's... We might actually need to slow Kira down. She might have to be one of the champions that goes only 3 turns. then how do we get the ally protection to work? Let me double check her cooldowns and make sure you've booked her. You have booked her. It's at a 3-turn cooldown. So, because we have Trumbor overwriting her ally protect anyway, I think it's fine. I think we can make her literally either of the slow champions. We could make her green or orange. She'll still protect column 1. The question is simply about the increased defense. We may not be able to have this perfect here. There might be a gap with the increased defense, which I don't love. I thought we were going to be able to get 100% coverage. We'll have to see. Okay, so let's actually switch this around a little bit. So let's get Morag faster, and we're going to slow down Kira. So we're going to make her the 172. And this is then the 239. Is that what we're doing? 39. Corvus is going 4 times, and Morag is going 4 times. That's great. Those are our 2 damage dealers. So we want them going 4 times. Trumbor is going 4 times, so he can get a 4-3, so he can get his ally protector around. Yeah, we're gonna drop the fence at some point, which is really unfortunate. Feels like we should be able to get full coverage there, but because she's on a 3-turn cooldown, it actually does mess with us. And now I'm wondering, if that other 4-3 speed tune that I turned off was actually, is it this one? This is the 666, right? So 6 turns, 6, yeah. See, the downside of this one is that Skull Crusher is always on the bottom. But if you had Ally Protector going, if you had Kira going slow at that spot, maybe she could go here. No, it doesn't work better. But you also have these other speed tunes, which are 2 4-3 champions. I think we'll just have to go with ours for now. We'll see if this, we can get close, and it could be that the strengthen just gives us enough coverage. We have the passive from Corvus. We have the strengthen. That's literally 2 25% damage mitigations on top of each other. We'll have the increased defense for at least most of the champions. So maybe we just let it slide. Maybe we just let it slide, and it's not going to be perfect coverage. That always irks me. If I had more time, maybe we could tweak it over, a couple of days. That would be something that we could do. But so in this case, let's just try to get it close and see if it's even something that you can do with your gear that you're interested in and that you might be able to execute. So what we would probably do here is Kira in the first. Yeah, Kira on the AoE 1 would put up her ally protect. Okay, so the way we're going to do that, we're just going to change priorities. We're going to make her A2 the priority. And then we're going to give it a 1 turn delay. So we're going to open with the A1. And then we're going to prioritize the A2. And since they're both on 3 turn cooldowns, it doesn't really matter which one you prioritize. It just reverses them in order. And so she's always going to be putting up her ally protection here. That means everybody's covered by ally protect and increased defense for the first AoE. But you can see all those things start to fall off on the next turn. So now Trumbor at the bottom of turn 2 should use his ally protect. So Trumbor at the bottom, he needs that. So we're going to get a 1 turn delay there. Again, open with his A1. So now he's giving the ally protect at the bottom of column 2. And now that will cover everybody in column 3. You see, everybody's covered except Trumbor, whose increased defense is up because Corvus is extending it right now. And everybody's got strengthen. Does everybody have strengthen through 2? We should have strengthen up on the AoEs, not on the stun. I think we want the strengthen up on one of the AoEs. So here we have ally protect and increased defense. Here we should have ally protect and strengthen on column 2. That would make sense. That's how we'd split it up. So on the first column we have ally protect and increased defense. Second column, ally protect and strengthen. Third column would be ally protect, strengthen. And some people would still have the defense depending on where they are in the order in terms of the extension. So let's move Morag's skill. Now her A2, I believe, is her increase or her strengthen. So we want that to be here at the That's interesting. We can get strengthen on both. Oh, that's interesting because it's the how can we force that there? Can we force that? Huh. Why can't we force that? What's going on there? We can't move. Why can't we? It just always ends up in the second column. I'm not 100% sure why. Why is that being forced into that spot? She should be able to move it. Unless there's a cooldown reduction, but there's no cooldown reduction here. Buff extension doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't have the priority. That's why. Let me double check, make sure I've got the skills in the right order. So I might not. A2 is strengthen. A3 is ally attack. Yeah, so it was just prioritizing the A3. That's why. Okay. So now we can move it where we want. And we want it here at the bottom of this. But now it's on a 4-turn cooldown. Now it's on a 3-turn. Oh, we can't. Can we not? We can't force it. We can't force it. We do this, we can force it. We can move it. Now it's happening over here. Python also has a strengthen, doesn't it? That just occurred to me. That just occurred to me. Why didn't I remember that Python had a strengthen? Does Python use his strengthen? Can you force him to use his strengthen? Because it's a revive. Does anybody know? Can you just force him? Can he just use his A3 even if there's nobody dead? Like, will he just use his A3? Can you force that? Because now that we, now that we're there, that maybe makes me think that we don't need more ag. If we have that strengthen already, I mean, we still want the ally attack. That's really nice, or the counter attack or something. But maybe we can go back to some other damage dealer. I don't know. Having 2 strengthens is not a bad thing. Get 100% coverage on the strengthen. Of course, Python strengthen is on a 4-turn cooldown. Of course it is. So it's not going to be consistently in the same place anyway. Because he's only taken 3 turns. All right, so I think that we're right there. I think it's just a matter of this choice. Like, and we could eventually tweak this a little bit further and say, you know, maybe we can speed one champion up. Maybe we can get a champion to like a 5-3 or something. Maybe even a Corvus who just like, and then you might cycle around. Maybe you do a cooldown reduction. I'm not 100% sure, but it feels like this is right there. The question is simply, where do we drop Morag's A2? Now, if we drop it here, just like this, we get full coverage on AoE 2, we get full coverage on AoE 3, and we'll get most coverage. We'll get coverage on 3 out of the champions here. Now, Morag loses this. Python will have it. Kira will have it, and Kira is the ally protector. So it looks like 2. So we'd have a full coverage on the stun. We have full coverage on the AoE 2. So this goes back to what we had before. This is really good. This is really good. You have ally protect, increased defense on the AoE 1. You have ally protect and strengthen on the AoE 2. You have block damage buffs up for both the slow and the stun. We don't have 100% coverage on that. We need to move Python's A2 by 1 turn. Why is that? Oh, because it's prioritized. There you go. Perfect. And then Python strengthen will occasionally pop in anyway and give you 100% coverage, it looks like. Or you could turn it off and just go with more A1 heals. You could literally turn off the A3. You could try it both ways and see which one works better. But this is it. I think this is the speed tune. Right? So here we've got that Kira giving our ally protection. And that allows us to have ally protection, increased defense. And you're going to have strengthen up sometimes on some champions on the A1. everybody will have strengthen and ally protect on the A2, except for Trumbor. Right, Trumbor will lose the other ally protection, which is fine. We don't want Kira to protect our protector. That's fine. And then he'll have the increased defense from his own buff. So he'll have that. And then everybody will have the strengthen. And some people will have the increased defense for the stun. And we don't know who's going to get stunned. It'll be different depending on the affinity. But everybody will be covered for that. We would actually maybe like Morag to take the stun. That would be great. Or Corvus to take the stun. Because then the ally protector's not getting slammed again, right? And gets an extra turn to get healed. Actually, I guess it doesn't matter. Because if the ally protection is up, they're getting slammed with the ally protection damage. But we would rather not have the ally protector hit direct. Because you need them to have a little bit of relief to get their heals back. This looks really good. I like this. I like this a lot. I would actually try this out on my main account. This would be fun. I'm not sure that this isn't like one key material. This isn't one key Ultra Nightmare material. But this is potentially 2 key Ultra Nightmare material, and it could be full auto, full affinity friendly. So for right now, what I would say is this. You have 4 of these champions built to 6 stars and ready to go, right? I mean, when we think about the damage, you have the weaken, you have the poison sensitivity, you have the poisons, you have the leech to help with the healing, you have the actual healer, you have the cleanse, you have the block debuffs, you have the increase buff duration, increase debuff duration. All just these 4 champions alone, you can literally throw any damage dealer in here at 239 and just see what happens. It doesn't have to be Morag. Just see what happens with a damage dealer that you like. So if we go back to your roster, we can just look at that and say, any damage dealer on the roster at all at 239. Let's just see what happens. So who would be a damage dealer that might be even close to 239? Right? And it doesn't even matter what kind of damage dealer they are. Wukong, 202. Rathalos, 185. Trunda, 168. Do we have anybody faster? A Kemptham. This could be a really nice option. I might try her first. Unless you have somebody close to the speed where you're just like, oh, I could pop them in really easily. I could just get them to the speed. I might try Frozen Banshee first. She's got a blessing. You could throw a Phantom Touch on her. Get yourself a little bit of extra damage. Is she mastered? No. Do we have somebody who's mastered? Do it with Kale. Use Kale. Forget it. Use Kale. Get him faster. Get him out of this accuracy set, maybe into perception set. Focus a little bit more on the speed. Maybe you can glyph some speed onto him. Get him to 230. What did we say the speed was? 239. Actually, you could even get the Corvus to the 239 and get the other champion to 222. That would still work. Yeah, that would actually still work. So you don't even have to, like, when we look at the speed tune, go ahead and, you can always come back to this video, but if you want to know what the speed tune is, that's what it is, right? 222, 172, 171, 223, 239, and you can see who's in what role. Now, the 2 most important speeds are, or the 3 most important speeds are your 2 ally protectors and your Pythion. You need them in those places. Now, if this doesn't work because you're running Pythion too slow for him to really be valuable in this spot at a 1-to-1, like you want him faster for other content, I completely understand. You know what I mean? And then you're like, okay, now I have a decision to make. There are other options. You have other, champions that can block debuffs. So you could potentially run somebody like, maybe Sepulchre Sentinel. I think you have that champion. You would have to find a different, like she would have to be in one of the 4-to-3 spots. So that might change this a little bit. Like you might have to put her into Trumbor's spot here in the yellow bar and put Trumbor into like the orange spot and then you'd have to put Kira into the green spot or something like that. Like that could happen. You'd have to shuffle those things because Kira needs to be on a 1-to-1, right? Because she's got a 3-turn cooldown. So she needs to be on the 1-to-1, and Trumbor needs to be on a 4-to-3. So if you have to shuffle, Corvus around, or if you have to, you have to shuffle Pythion out, and you get a 4 to, instead of a 3-turn block damage debuff cooldown, you have a 4-turn cooldown on the block debuffs. Then you have to swap that spot. You have to pull Pythion out. But otherwise, this feels fantastic. I like this speed tune quite a bit. Took a little while to put together and make sure it worked, but double strengthen, double increased defense, double ally protect. When does that happen? Plus an ally attack, plus a Corvus who's just a beast at clan boss. I love it. I personally love it. I don't know. But so here's the question. You do have to go a little bit faster on some champions. Just make sure you get there. Make sure you keep the accuracy that you need when you get to these speeds. And see, this might be a tune worth going for because you do have 4 of these champions already built. So it's not a lot of investment. Do you know what I mean? It will be some time investment, some silver investment, but you don't have to invest a lot of books here. And like I said, don't build this with Morag first. Take Kale. He's going to give you poisons. It's going to help Corvus anyway. Take Kale, get him up to that speed. See if he works instead. And then if he does, but it doesn't quite get you to the 2 key, maybe you're at a 3 key level or a 4 key level. The Morag may actually get you all the way because she might do more damage than Kale, and she might extend the life of your team because of that strengthen buff. So not only would she do more damage, but the whole team would get more turns to do more damage. So, all right, I think that's the clan boss takeover for today. Do you have any questions? Do you feel like this is a clan boss speed tune you can pull off, or do you just feel like maybe this is a bridge too far? Or maybe you fell asleep listening to me drone on about your clan boss speed tune. Nikki, I'm sorry to hear that. Not getting exclusive champs and knowing they're going away is just frustrating. Yeah, okay, great. And like I said, I think even if you build Morag and the speed tune doesn't work beautifully, Morag's a great champion, and you're going to find places to use her, especially against bosses. Right? She's really nice against bosses because she adds that additional survivability to your team with that strengthen. And if you don't have Mithrala yet, and if you're not close to Mithrala, this is one of the most easily accessible strengthen champions in the entire game. It's 2 turns up on a 3-turn cooldown. That by itself is awesome, even without the ally attack. Even if she didn't bring anything else, and she does. And also, I think she fits this tune perfectly because it means both of your damage dealers are defensive based. You have your allied protectors, you have 2 tanks, and then Pythion is pretty tanky as a support. So you can go really tanky and survivable, and I think it'll work out for you. Also consider maybe throwing, I don't know if it's Corvus, maybe Corvus needs to be in a Guardian set, or you could use a Guardian set on one of the champions, I think. That might, maybe not. I mean, double ally protect. You might not need it, but try it out. All right. So thanks for letting me tool around on your account, Lord Maleferous. Congratulations on your Takeover Tuesday. I want to say to everybody, thanks so much for hanging out today. I'm sorry that I got here so late. Things are busy. Things are busy here. We're going to try to keep our Takeover Tuesdays going. The live streams on Thursday and Sunday are just much more up in the air for the course of this month because of the Raid Madness event and all of the collaborations that we're doing and some other things. I'd really like to try to get at least one of those live streams up every week. So we're going to try to do Tuesdays every week and then try to get one of the other ones up each week. And it might change depending on the week. So the current live stream schedule is going to be a bit less consistent than it's been for the past few months. And that's just as we kind of adjust what's happening here on the channel. That's what's going to happen. Definitely go ahead and check out the merch store. That would be cool if people just let me know. Even give me feedback. Be like, dude, the offerings are boring. We don't like the designs. Like, get more interesting. Or, yeah, we like it, but we don't like the price points. They're too high. Let me know. Whatever it is, feedback would be useful because even though we don't expect to sell a lot of merch, we do want the merch to be there, be available for players, to be accessible to players, and to be interesting to players in case they are, in fact, the kind of person who would appreciate supporting the channel in that way. And then the last thing is make sure you get into Raid Madness. Go and check out the videos that we've done in the last couple of days. We've now done 3 videos. And obviously the big one today was the HH collaboration. Also watch out for HH's video with me in it. So I did a video with him. It'll be dropping on his channel later this week. And it would be awesome if you guys were also there to see that, support that video. And yeah, we'll have the brackets opening, I believe, on Friday. So Friday at noon Eastern time, the brackets will open for your predictions. And then we'll have 3 days of voting to figure out the results of the first round. And then we will move on. We're bringing all the collaborators back at some point. Not all of them together, but they'll all be coming back to get in on the action again. All right. I think that is it for today. So thanks for hanging out. Son, you got anything for the good people here?
Another beautiful day. Not just any day, but this day. And I hope you have a fantastic one.
Yeah, we hope you have a fantastic day. And thanks so much for hanging out. We will see you hopefully in a video soon. But if not, we'll see you next Tuesday right here on another Takeover Tuesday. Y'all have a good night.